I'd like to call the Finance Committee meeting to order on Thursday, November 20th. We are meeting in person, and the meeting is being recorded. Please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Since Gary has taken control of the display,
Yes.
I'll let him display the agenda.
Beautiful. Something wrong with her. Thank you, Madam Chair. So tonight, we're continuing kind of what we started last week on some of the items here. The handbook, liaison assignments, we didn't have a full committee, so, and then a couple of things from Cody, and then a couple of reserve fund transfers that I spoke about, and then wrap up with a few items. So the handbook, I got the last version that you had sent this afternoon.
Okay, so my display does work, Gary.
Okay.
Because we don't want to watch Janine type on your laptop. This wasn't pretty.
Well, I liked it.
I have this, so I'm not sure what happened with this connection.
It probably can only connect one thing at a time.
Okay, try this one.
Because it worked before, we tested it.
There we go.
Okay, good, perfect. So, I sent a copy out to everybody of the latest version of the handbook. I did some of the edits from our conversation last week, added a couple things. I think I have it to what we decided on last week, and of course, we're gonna review it all again anyway, because I know we have a group here that just loves to share their thoughts. Yes, I was thinking of you, Brian. Hang on. Let me get it up. Let's go. None of us can. Just make it bigger. Good, can everybody see that nicely?
Mm-hmm.
Met everybody's eyesight requirements?
You want to maximize the screen? Janine, like at the top there, I don't know.
This?
Yeah, there you go. Even better. Excellent.
Better, perfect, thank you, Gary.
Beautiful.
So I took into account the changes that we asked for, but we should probably go through it again. We obviously have Patrick with us this week, and Brian with us this week. And I'm sure you didn't all read it from top to bottom this afternoon when I sent it out. Maybe you did.
Oh, the same thing.
You did?
Yes.
Well, then I'm just looking forward to all your ideas.
Don't believe it.
One of the changes I made was in the introduction. You know, this handbook is intended as a guide, that's the same. But while I did add the following sentence, while it provides information specific to the town of Dartmouth, it is not intended to replace the Finance Committee Handbook published by the Association of Town Finance Committees, ATFC, through the Massachusetts Municipal Association, which offers broader guidance for municipal finance committees across the Commonwealth.
That's fine.
Nice.
That's fine.
Anybody?
Excellent.
Good. The second paragraph, I don't think I changed anything. I added the town moderator's email address with the new domain. So that is the same. I'm going to bother to read it out loud to everybody.
On the YouTube.
Scroll up a little more. Still read it if you want to. We all agreed that Finance Committee members are expected to maintain at least 75% attendance consistent with other appointed committees. Occasional absences are acceptable, but members should notify the chairperson and the director of budget and finance as early as possible. Meetings are held in person at the Dartmouth Town Hall. Members may participate remotely via Zoom for occasional absences due to illness, emergency, or travel, with 48 hours. A quorum of 5 members must be physically present to conduct business and take votes. So I added that. And for those who weren't here last week, we had a discussion about Zoom or no Zoom. I moved this sentence, this next sentence that starts with Finance Committee meetings are generally held because, and Terry, I'll defer to you, because I know you had sort of an outline. I mean, we can move it again, but it just seemed to make sense at this point to say,
Okay.
meetings are generally held weekly on Thursdays from 5 to 7 at the town hall.
So Janine,
Just
on
one,
the,
yeah,
yeah,
one
Yes.
thing to note, under general participation expectations,
Yes.
under the COVID extension regarding remote meetings, which has just been extended again and again, you don't need a quorum physically present.
Okay, so
Yeah,
that
we
was
thought
the
we did.
conversation we had last week. I thought there was a
You don't
legal
need-
requirement.
No,
Okay.
that was, previous, you needed a quorum physically present, but you can have, it can be a mix, it can be hybrid, as long as you have a quorum,
Okay,
in combination, and then you just have to do roll call votes if someone's remote, and not physically present, but you don't need a quorum physically
let
present.
me just, because I did want to make sure that people understood what quorum was. So this, maybe the sentence needs to be moved.
Is that to say if you're
No,
having
it's
a
not.
hybrid, you have to do a roll call vote?
Yes,
That's correct, yeah.
yes. And we, for attendance as well as for the vote.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I forgot where I read it, Cody, honestly.
That was a previous,
It was a
so when they
previous-
implemented those COVID era, guidance,
Mm-hmm.
they allowed that, and it just continues to be extended and anticipated.
Okay. We did come to a consensus that, the preference is that we meet in person. So that's why it kind of says that.
Since we're taking out the physically present, we possibly maybe change to a quorum of 5 members is required to conduct business and take votes. That way
Yeah, no,
it's-
that makes sense. Good?
Janine.
Yes, sorry, John.
Next statement is, I think, is a little bit misleading, especially someone who may be interested in.
Which
Finance
statement?
Committee, we meet weekly on Thursdays generally.
Yeah?
That's 52 times a week. A year, we don't meet every week, so that's a bit misleading.
How would you
So we
phrase
could say
it?
we generally meet on Thursdays,
You could just,
when business needs to be conducted, something like that.
or you could just say when finance committee meetings are held, they are held Thursdays from 5 to 7 PM. Just use when finance committees meetings are held.
You want to try to put a budget season to the meetings? Is that
Yeah,
what you were
something
trying to
about
kind of
the-
do? Like
you know,
during
'cause
budget season,
Twice a
weekly
year,
meetings?
we'll meet, sometimes 3
I
nights a week.
understand what you're saying, both of you actually, but you want people to be aware that that is when we schedule our meetings. And this summer, which wasn't budget season, we had meetings.
Yeah,
But it was
But it
by
wasn't every week,
consensus. Correct.
no, just say when they're held.
So adding what Deirdre just proposed would make sense during budget development or during budget season.
Yes, except for the fact that we added those summer meetings.
Yeah.
That's the only reason I
Yeah.
was questioning it.
Yeah, we're gonna get to, professional development too, so we'll have to talk about it there.
Who was it that said when businesses, forgot what the phrase
During
was.
budget season, when businesses.
No, you don't need budget season.
No, we do later, we do explain that later.
We could say finance committee meetings, when needed, are typically held
Okay, there you go.
on
Yeah, you
Thursdays.
can do that too, whatever.
Okay,
Finance committees meetings, when needed, are typically held on Thursday.
typically it goes back in. Got that? Finance committee meetings when needed are typically held weekly? Or just typically
Or
held?
just held on,
Just typically held.
held on Thursdays from 5 to 7.
Yeah. All right, good.
Do we want to say in preparation of town meetings?
Well, we have that whole section, you were here last week, John, we have that whole section about the budget process.
No, what about, there's an uptick in meetings.
Because you kind of.
So people are, oh, I got Thursdays free, but sometimes we meet on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and someone joining could say, oh, I can never meet on a Tuesday and Wednesday.
And that's
Well, we
more,
have it here. If necessary, additional sessions may be scheduled commonly on Tuesdays,
How about
depending on the
during-
workload.
How about during budget season, additional sessions may be scheduled?
I wouldn't pin it down to that.
Okay.
Okay, there's a comment.
Well, we do have that whole, you probably remember it, from the whole section on the budget process that mentions the fall town meeting, spring town meeting. You know, typically, if necessary. I said, there's some pieces of this that may end up being better in another location, I think. It's hard to say. It was just me this morning typing,
Well, you're
and
gonna,
I just moved stuff around.
you're going to send it out again when it's finalized, right?
Of course. I think it's going to be a document, a living document.
Yeah, we mentioned that
I
last time.
sense it changing, you know, for various reasons.
We
It will
mentioned that
change.
last meeting was gonna be living documents.
Right, we'll have it, on somewhere on here will be a last revision date or something like that.
Yeah,
Good
there you
sense.
go.
It has to be reviewed by Melissa anyway.
Yes, of course, yes. When we get down to a more final document. The chairperson sets the agenda, that's the same. Everything here is the same. We changed a little bit under the secretary paragraph, it was just shortened, basically. The liaison section,
Okay.
the main thing that was added to the liaison section was that liaison should be prepared to provide oral reports at finance committee meetings. The rest of it is ultimately the same.
Can we say brief oral reports?
You want me to go back to 10 pages, single-spaced?
Because I'm just thinking, that may scare somebody too, it's like, oh my God, I gotta give this oral, but, I mean, just, and.
There should be a lot of other reasons,
I think
John,
most
that
of
they
us
should be
want it
scared.
brief too, not that there's,
Okay, brief.
not that typically we get a long-winded person, but you never know.
Well, I don't want,
Yeah, we gotta know, we got one new member, I don't know.
So far, so good.
well, and
all
Nate's
right?
fairly new as well. There's two
Yeah,
fairly
I'm
new
getting a little
members.
nervous, so let's put that in there.
I don't, Deirdre doesn't strike me as easily scared off. Okay, I put in to provide brief oral reports.
Yeah.
And I added what the liaison positions are. Not who's assigned, because that could easily change, but just what they are, so people understand what the options are.
Do we have one for the police? I don't think we.
Yes,
doesn't-
right here.
Yeah.
We do.
We had one for the police, but it was, for the building. We've never had one for the police. It was-
Right, because there's no meeting
Sure
of
we
the.
did, because it was
Beppy.
Bob and it was Beppy.
Beppy. Beppy was the,
But the police, they don't have a public meeting you can attend and over.
No, but
No,
they
they don't.
spoke to the police chief. And now, I get it, they don't have a
But that's
weekly
not a
meeting that
meeting.
somebody attends. I
That's
do
not
get
a-
that, but I think that each of them spoke with the chief. And we do, and I don't have the list in front of me, that'll be the next thing we look at as far as who wanted what liaison
I
roles.
can tell you what I was thinking when I volunteered for that, but if it's not that, I can
Hmm.
address it then.
Hi Nate,
hello, how are you?
we're cozy tonight, Nate.
Full house, huh?
We are,
Yep,
Full boat.
full boat. Oh, well, or minus one, actually. So,
Carrie, yeah, nice one.
Carrie just texted, she's on her way.
okay, good. Okay, good. All right. Okay. Working with select board and town departments. Didn't change a lot here. The biggest conversation was about the second half of this. No. At joint meetings, the chairperson will introduce committee members and recognize speakers. Proper decorum is expected, and members should offer only new or relevant points when recognized. All discussion must remain focused on matters pertaining to the town of Dartmouth. Thoughts? No thoughts?
No,
Wow.
wait, no.
We can attribute proper decorum to Deirdre's input.
There we go again, John.
No sarcasm?
We took out sarcasm and put proper decorum. Figured that was self-explanatory.
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay. No more comments, then we'll slide up to financial management and the budget process. So some of this was just clarifying some of the sentences. The Finance Committee meets twice annually with town meeting members, once for the spring town meeting in June, and again in October for the fall town meeting. The chairperson and director of budget and finance establish the budget calendar, typically starting in September for the fall town meeting and in January for the spring town meeting. The spring town meeting addresses the operating budget, parentheses Schedule A, as well as capital budgets recommended by the Capital Improvement Committee and other warrant articles. The fall town meeting primarily examines additional capital funding recommendations from the Capital Improvement Committee based on the certification of free cash. I added the next paragraph because we know that this is something else that we do. Non-budgetary warrant articles. The Finance Committee also reviews, analyzes, and makes recommendations with respect to all non-budgetary matters that are brought before town meeting, including bylaws, citizens' petitions, and authorizations for transfers of unused funds from prior year's budget. The Dartmouth Town Charter requires the Finance Committee to provide a recommendation to town meeting on every warrant article, regardless of whether a financial impact is involved.
Sometimes we find ourselves saying, why are they asking for our opinion on this?
We have opinions on everything. Yay.
That's great, though.
So anyway, added that paragraph.
Good, nice,
Everybody?
Yep.
No? All right.
excellent, good.
And then, of course, this is the other thing that we do, transfers from the reserve fund. The reserve fund is a budget account administered by the Finance Committee to be used at their discretion to cover extraordinary or unforeseen expenditures that arise during the year. Refer to Reserve Fund Policies and Practices, that's a hot link, document for more details. Feel the need to describe the whole thing.
Right.
It's all in that document. It's posted right on our Finance Committee webpage. And the other thing that I added, and this was a long conversation last week, was public statements and email I added, by the way. The purpose of these guidelines is not to ask Finance Committee members to leave their opinions or values at the door when they become members of the committee. My own, bad. An individual committee member can speak publicly as a private citizen, but must not represent or act on behalf of the Finance Committee unless expressly authorized. When members identify themselves as committee members while speaking in a personal capacity, it can create the impression that they speak for the committee.
And I would add, speaking and publishing, or, you know, something about, because the issue of letters came up, right?
Okay,
Excuse me, I have to disagree with that.
that statement, the whole
I am
statement, or what
so
Terry just
surprised.
said?
Yeah, well, I think as a member of the Finance Committee, you have standing to comment on something. You can say, you don't these opinions do not represent the
You
finance.
mentioned that last meeting.
So I have a problem with that.
We mentioned that last
Well, I
meeting. that
think,
we-
no, we did,
Right.
and I probably have some real recent examples of that. From the select board meeting on Monday night. Yes, I get it, and I will say that the folks both clearly said they were not on the, speaking on behalf of the Finance Committee. And this is just my personal opinion. Of course, once you say that, everybody goes, oh, they're on the Finance Committee. I know there's no way, I don't know what the way around that is.
Well, I had a conversation with the moderator about the two letters that I wrote about the performance of one of the select board meeting members. And as she was concerned, as long as I disavowed this being a comment which relates to the representing the Finance Committee, it was fine. You have standing. I mean, you're here. I was here 5 and a half years.
No, I do I understand that, and this paragraph is, basically a public meeting. But maybe there just needs to be another sentence that refers to documents, as Terry said, and that would address that.
As long as it's stated either way, either in a document or at a meeting, that your opinion does not represent the feeling or the opinion of the total finance committee, or something along those lines there. In other words,
Should I
in other words,
say-
it's your own opinion and your own document, and it does not anywhere as a matter of fact, represent how the rest of the finance committee feels.
Do we feel like, so in that second sentence, where it says an individual committee member can speak, can I say can speak or write publicly as a private citizen?
Maybe you could write when an individual committee member
Right.
speaks publicly or writes.
Right, because here you're telling them when they can and cannot.
Yep.
That's not, that's not our position.
They
It's
must
when they
make it
speak,
clear
Yeah,
please
that they don't represent
make
the
it clear
finance committee.
that.
That might be a more clear way of
Okay,
saying
say it
it.
again, Terry, when?
When an individual committee member speaks publicly or publishes a document, there's probably a better way to say that, but let's
Speaks
put it in for now.
publicly.
Members must make it clear that they do not represent the finance committee.
Yeah, that's fine.
Publishes a letter?
or publish it,
I mean, no, because-
or anything,
Document.
or publishes a document, anything,
We'll come up with something.
Okay.
Publishes IE letter.
yeah,
A document.
anything, document, that covers everything.
Whatever, I'll fix the sentence, but we get.
Sure.
Is that enough?
Yeah, I get the gist of it, yeah.
Okay. All right. The second part of that was about email. A finance committee member, of course, can email other members as long as the message is not sent to a quorum. The only exception is that members may email a quorum to schedule a meeting, share an agenda, or distribute reports or documents for an upcoming meeting, provided no opinions are included. Members should avoid using reply all, as doing so may violate the open meeting law.
I think it would be good to put some kind of statement in there about social gatherings, and I know the language was used by the select board at one time, that if people gather for, you have suggestions?
I can get you the language.
Okay.
But off the top
Just
of
to
my
say
head, but yeah,
that, because
right.
we were really worried that it was gonna be,
Yeah, you gotta open it up to the
Official.
public, yeah.
yeah.
No, when we worked at Martha's Vineyard 20 years ago, in winter, when you were at they had an IGA at that time, IGA, and you were at the Tomatoes, you had a quorum, so. So we all had to have a specific language about,
No, I
Same thing.
understand. We've all been in situations where different public bodies have been at a quorum level in a public setting.
Absolutely.
You're not talking about business.
No, right.
I mean, people gather socially.
Sure,
You know, just because you all happen to be in the aisle of Stop and Shop, doesn't mean business is being, you're not taking
that's right.
votes. But yes, maybe a sentence of some kind, I'll put that in there. Good idea.
Yes, she
Carrie?
is. Hello, Carrie.
Have a seat for you right here. Careful, careful.
Yeah, watch out for my cord, sorry.
My cord especially because it's hanging in the air.
So that is the extent of my edits and input on this at this point in time.
Good job.
There's so much more to be done. I left some of it because Terry, you had several categories that you had listed at the end of this. Terry is the person who set up the structure of this and started it.
I pulled that
So
up.
I didn't really want to, I wasn't sure where you were going with some of these. And I don't know, if we get an idea tonight, then maybe, you can work on it, I can work on it. whatever.
We had committee operations, agenda and schedule liaison reports, communication to town meeting, professional development, resources for training and in-house training. Deirdre, just to explain why we're doing this committee never really had a handbook about how we'll operate. There's always been a finance committee handbook, obviously, but it was kind of loosey-goosey. So we've decided in the past few years, because we've put some structures in that work, that we want to commit it to paper, so when we're dead and buried, somebody in front of us knows how to run things.
That's
Yeah.
true.
it's well done.
Right. So a new one, as the beginning kind of states, so a new member or somebody who's considering being a member gets an idea of the structure of the finance committee and how we operate and
Exactly.
sort of the guidelines of what goes on. I realize a lot of that takes place when they're interviewed by the town moderator, but this way, anybody can look at it. And then maybe they'll look at it and go, that's awesome, I want to be a finance committee member. Or they'll look at it and go, I don't think so. Either way, it's a choice.
I think the latter's gonna prevail.
I added just a couple things, and I'm not sure, I didn't want to write anything at this point, when I talked about professional development or training, whatever, that people need to be aware of open meeting laws, and maybe it's just hot links to them, and Robert's Rules of Order, because I think every
Oh, yeah.
committee in town operates on that.
You could probably refer to, if there's something in there that dictates.
I know, it
Yeah,
might. I
yeah.
looked at, and I said this last week, so I looked at Finance Committee handbooks, not talking about the large one that's put out by the state. But I looked at Finance Committee handbooks from probably half a dozen towns. So that's where I got some of this input from, just to
Yeah.
see how they were addressing different things.
Yeah,
I will say, not that I expect this to be, but I will say on average, those handbooks were 20 pages long. I don't think we'll get that far, because a lot of the information that we do need to know is in the state
Right.
handbook.
and you
And
can
I don't want
refer,
to replicate that.
no, you can refer
Or
to it.
scare anybody off with a
Right.
document that they must read before they even consider joining the finance
You can
committee.
just refer to it in somewhere.
Rather than financial statements, would we like to say something like letters to town meeting? Because financial statements are really what Gary brings to us, you know?
Right,
You wanted to put something in there to say letters to town meeting, how we put them together, because it gets back into, if there's a split, if we don't have consensus on something, then we decide to do a pro and con in the letter.
Minority
you're
report.
talking
That's
about the warrant recommendations
the-
or the
yeah.
letter to
No, the
town
letter
meeting?
to the town meeting.
Oh, the letter,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Wasn't
To
that
try-
in a version of this? I vaguely remember that.
What was that, Brian?
Wasn't some of this stuff in a previous version of this that listed the type of things that we discussed?
Yeah, it's
doing?
right over here. Yeah, that's why I said we should have a link to this document or another
Well,
document.
that's different.
Yeah, but
That
we're
doesn't
not,
have anything about letters to town meeting in it, I'm sure.
I don't know, I have to look at it.
Well, I don't think anybody, other committee writes a letter to town
I
meeting
don't
that I'm
know.
aware of.
Let me find out for sure. It may have, and if it doesn't, then it doesn't.
I,
Go ahead,
Go ahead.
go
I
ahead.
think that maybe, that might be a little bit, maybe too much detail, to put letters to town meeting. I think maybe at the top, maybe a sentence with, what the duties are, or what's expected of the group.
We have
There's a
part of-
portion at the top, I think, that
Talks about responsibilities.
talks about,
So we reference it, I think, under the vice chair description.
A little, can we see the,
Yeah, letter to town meeting.
Vice chair
Chair
acts,
acts
whatever, and coordinates the writing of warrant recommendations, letter to town meeting, and other
so-
finance committee communications.
That's fine. Says it all, really. So you don't have to reference it.
I mean, I think if anybody is interested in all the awesome detail of us putting together that letter to town meeting, they can watch these meetings and see exactly how that process works, which might be interesting to some. I know it takes us a while, but we usually come up with a really good letter at the end.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
So, so the reference to capital planning, Terry, what was that intended for?
To be honest, I just made a list of things that we deal with and.
Okay.
And we can include it or not. I mean, the capital improvement committee usually writes their own letter.
Right.
And I think capital improvement committee would fall under the department that you wrote about earlier. That
We mentioned it in the budget process. It's mentioned
they
in
come and
there.
meet with us just like all the other departments. So we may not even need to put capital planning in there.
Okay. Okay, so now I understand. So this was just thoughts of what else should be included
Yeah,
in
yeah.
this. All right.
I do
wasn't sure if
think
it was
though
other
that we need to,
sections.
I do think we need to make some kind of statement that we write to the town meeting twice a year because up until the last, say, 5 years or so, we didn't. The finance committee didn't send anything to town meeting.
Right.
And we don't always
Right.
send for each town meeting a
Yeah.
letter.
So I agree with you, Gary, that we don't need to go into the detail of what goes into it, but the finance committee puts together,
Maybe add it at the top twice a year, town
yeah,
finance committee
yeah.
submits
Add it at the top, under what
the
section?
vice chair, maybe under vice chair.
Back under vice chair.
Not fiscal management.
Well,
Everybody, hi.
Letter to
Nice
town,
to see you.
yeah, twice a year, a letter to town meeting. Yeah.
Enough detail? Okay. What it is. So we don't need that. And that. Do we have enough about the agenda and schedule?
I think so.
You know, we have a full house and everyone is so quiet.
No, but you.
Okay,
you-
so the
you-
agenda is schedule is fairly a normative committee function, so I don't think it might not
Right,
need
but
to be
it's,
there.
it's mentioned in here already.
Right,
Yes,
exactly.
you're right about
Yeah,
that, it's
so-
true.
Exactly.
I try to look at this as you haven't been on a committee before. Sometimes people who join these committees have never been on a committee before.
Right, and I'm thinking that Bill, you, Brian, and I would know if we disappeared, what would we not want to see disappear from the finance committee? I feel like this covers it.
I
Okay,
think,
all right.
I'm comfortable with the document. You don't wanna be too wordy either, I think it's great.
No, no, I agree. So, financial
We
statements is
do need to clarify liaison reports, but we can probably do that as conversation, we don't have to.
You
write
mean
it.
as far as who?
Well, also, what does liaison do? Because
Well-
we're not participating in their
Right.
meetings.
Did this description not cover it?
No, I think it covers it. Did anybody see anything that was missing? Cody, when you look at that list, is there anything that we should be?
I don't mean the list of who the
No,
liaisons are, but
just,
the paragraph
no,
above
just
it.
what they do. I think it's fine.
That we've established a
Support
member will
effective-
serve
yeah.
as a liaison to one or more town boards or committees. Larger departments may have more than one liaison. This role does not authorize members to speak on behalf of the finance committee.
Right.
Rather, liaisons are responsible for identifying issues that may merit the committee's attention and advising the chairperson on whether they should be added to a future agenda.
Right.
Liaisons are encouraged to attend the meetings of their assigned boards or committees. If attendance is not possible, they should review the meeting on the Dartmouth Community Media YouTube channel to stay informed, and they should be prepared to provide brief oral reports
Or-
at finance committee meetings.
Or you can have the meetings, meeting minutes sent to you via email from these various
True,
committees.
and for the most part, everyone posts their minutes. We're probably the most prompt committee, thank you, Gary, for posting our minutes online.
Right.
It's really more to give a heads up to the finance committee of things that might be
Yeah.
happening that we're gonna have to have an opinion on.
Because all you're really doing is just bringing back information from these committees to be presented to the finance committee. That's all
Yes.
you're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not offering any opinion or anything, just say what you need to be brought back.
If you are the liaison, you would ask the chairperson to send you an agenda for
Yeah.
that committee, whatever it is.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, one of the things I just noticed, we have the health insurance steering committee.
Good one.
There's a member of the
Oh,
finance
you know,
committee
that's a
that
good
serves
point.
on that.
We put on the budget advisory, but we didn't do the health insurance, and we do have two, and frankly, I don't remember who they are. We do have one person or two.
One of the finance committee, yeah.
Is there a PEC? Is it me? Okay.
I'm sorry.
Mary,
It's me.
I know, but it's not on the list, that's all.
Oh,
Health insurance.
Long-term capital should probably be on there.
Yeah, long-term capital should also be on.
We have long-term capital planning committee, it's the last item.
Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it is.
I was gonna go for
What we
that.
don't have is,
You gotta add that, okay.
now, health advisory, and it's carried.
Put it at the end.
Its official name, Cody, is
Health Insurance Steering Committee, HISC, right? Yeah, Health Insurance Steering Committee.
Health Insurance
Yeah.
Steering Committee.
Is there a date, are there dates when they're meeting published somewhere?
We haven't met yet. It's a new committee.
Just make sure.
Yeah.
You probably want to put Board of Health instead of Health.
Okay. Carrie, it's up there with the Budget Advisory Group. We're in waiting mode.
Perfect.
I'll fix those.
Is this the time to ask a question with respect to the list of liaisons?
We're going to,
Said that
Look.
we're going to put that up next as far as the
Oh.
assignments? Or
I-
just the boards that are on this list?
Either or, but some have asterisks and some have just voting and some are just,
That is a good question, and I took out all the asterisks because they had
Yeah, I was
nothing that
gonna
they
ask
were
that.
referring to.
What are the access
and I
mean?
volunteered for the question ones, but I just thought it was a kind of a probity thing or something.
We
so-
will, we'll talk about that after we're done
Okay.
with this
Thank you very
conversation.
much.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
NCOs,
fine.
huh?
That is a question. I just took that off of this chart. It made no sense. It wasn't referring to anything. I want to add, so we need something about social gatherings, that's fine, I'll add something. And then something under professional development without being wordy. Probably a lot of it will be links or something to like MMA or ATFC, so people should join or get the emails and sign up. As a new member, people should get that information.
Encouraged to.
What do you want to say about social gatherings?
That we're not a quorum and we all meet at Stop and Shop.
They don't have to be posted.
Do we, I mean, that's in the state ethics rules, do we, and we reference,
Yeah.
I mean, do we need to repeat all the stuff that, you know, committee members should be taking that course
Did it come up
anyway?
at-
And all that information is there about social gatherings. I mean, we could go on forever with
No,
Yeah,
that's
that's
fair.
why you
this
can provide
handbook,
links.
fair.
or-
where it already exists. Why reinvent the wheel?
I'm not
Exactly,
reinventing
that's
the
what I
wheel
was
for
saying.
sure.
If
That's
you
why I
all
don't want
provide
this to be
links
20
or-
pages.
Right.
Was there a problem that had come up that made the list? Because,
But-
Probably somebody saw something they didn't like, not amongst us. Just saying,
just
in
can't
general.
help it nowadays.
I do think, and I'll ask the two newest members, because it's been a long time, but I have been to many open meeting webinars. Did you have to take a open meeting course? Yes?
I didn't just because I took the oath and I took the online,
Okay.
but I didn't
That's
take,
what it is.
is that the online?
Okay, so
oath?
there's an
No, I did
online
that.
thing. Okay.
That's
that's-
state ethics.
Yeah, no, okay, that's
State
fine.
ethics.
Okay,
Right.
No, meeting law.
Yeah,
But
that's-
not open meeting law. So
They
you're
don't cover
required to
open
do
meeting
state
law?
ethics, you are not required.
Oh, that's right, you're
Right.
not required. to.
Oh, okay, so
You just
that's
get the
fine.
handbook.
And I would
There
advise
was something
people to
about,
go
I remember
to
something about open meeting.
the
I'm sure there
open
was something
meeting
in there
law
about
and,
open meeting.
Well, they touch upon it. There's specified open meeting law training.
Okay.
that
Oh,
the
no,
state
there
does.
is, absolutely. I would only put
Yeah,
it in the
that's the same,
professional
that's the
development thing as a
training.
link. And I
Yeah,
would
yeah,
tell
yeah.
you that the MMA, because I said I have taken it, they have webinars occasionally where
They're
you
really
can
good.
review it, that are very good and very
really good.
detailed, and I do recommend that you see it at least once in your lifetime.
we could just suggest that new members
Yeah, well, that's sort
refer
of
to
the-
the state's
right.
open meeting law website and familiarize themselves with that.
No, as I said, I think that's under that last section. Those are just reference materials for anyone who's considering or is a member. I think it's important to know that those organizations or rules exist.
Do you want to spell out the acronyms for the new person going, what's an MMA?
I will.
Yes.
I'm just not going to do it tonight.
Thank you very much, sorry.
No, that's actually a really good point.
No, I will,
Because-
of course.
Yeah, I get,
The school
get hung up
department
on
is
acronyms.
alphabet soup, everything's alphabet
Oh,
soup,
no.
so.
Deirdre, didn't you notice in the very first paragraph that I put out Association of Town Finance Committees? I know, I don't like to bury people under acronyms. I come from a technology background, so I'm very used to,
Right.
you can bury somebody under them.
Yeah,
It's not good. I agree. So I think at this point, we probably will discuss it again because we're just gonna tweak a few things and send it out to everybody to take a look at. Is that fair?
Yep.
It is.
Thank you.
It's very helpful as a new member, very, very helpful to the,
I think it
Specific
will be
tasks
helpful
at
to
hand.
people, as I said, in case you're interested in joining the board, or you are a board member, of course.
I just asked John simple questions about 9 precincts or 10 precincts and 9 members, and are they representative of each other? And so just even that simple information in that conversation was very helpful.
Oh, town meeting?
And what is precinct 3, and we have 3 people?
I know. Having sat through the charter thing.
The precinct doesn't have many meeting members, but it's all students.
All right.
So let's drum that up.
Hey. Why don't you change? Oh, that helps.
Oh, that's where,
That helps. Sure.
there you go.
All right. So Gary, I'll ask the question now because I never saw what these asterisks mean on some of these. Like capital
it
improvements,
is-
okay, I get it, it's a voting position, but it has an asterisk. Why? Or,
Based on the
because it doesn't
responses.
refer to anything at the bottom.
It could have been some old information. I mean, we don't,
Okay.
I've eliminated.
Well, as I said, I did in the handbook because I couldn't find out what it was referring to. All right, so we don't know.
no.
The asterisks are being eliminated.
Take it out, yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
And then the
that's fine, I'll do it. Anyway,
Okay, you have the update, well, you're gonna add the steering committee, correct?
I will. I added to this. Health insurance steering committee.
Good.
Oops.
Now we need a volunteer, huh? Was it Kim? Okay.
Okay, all right. So we agreed last week, John Souza volunteered for the AG Trust.
What's AG Trust?
That was 15 minutes last week. Well, John, since you're the liaison.
Actually, we found it out what it was.
It's the
Agricultural Commission.
Yeah.
Okay.
Has in the past had funds in a trust that they have to have a committee to oversee. So
Oh, okay.
that's, the Ag Commission right now is making that a hot topic to start. another- They haven't met, I
Okay.
think, in years, but.
They don't
I
meet
think
on a
that's
regular
about-
basis, but so I attended one, believe it or not, way back when I first joined
Okay.
the Finance Committee. They sent something up to David Tattlebaum and said, we need a rep from the Finance Committee to be at this meeting. So I went to it, and it was, they don't meet on a regular basis. They just meet when they need to meet, so.
Is there any money in the trust?
I don't know if there currently is
There is, but I don't think it's enough
It's
to
no,
like
so,
purchase
you
any.
know, they
It used to be at one time, but.
want to
Define
purchase one.
enough in Dartmouth terms as opposed to,
Well, the idea was you could have a farm, for instance,
Right.
that was being sold or potentially gonna be sold, and you could use these funds to essentially preserve it, you know, buy the farm. And then, this was done, what's the property there, they tried doing marijuana stuff there.
Oh, I can't
You know
think of
what I'm
the
talking
name,
about.
but there's a number of properties.
But there's, yeah, a number of
there.
properties that this has been utilized for, so
Thank
I don't
you.
think there's enough currently in there to make a purchase, right? They're talking about
Gotcha.
getting it replenished.
But
Thank
that
you.
fund hasn't been using it. The funds to purchase that property and others was CPC and a few other agencies got involved in purchasing,
John, do you
those.
remember the Soils Board? Because that's another one. It's kind of strange. Gloria
Soils
went to one.
Board is inactive right now because we got no active gravel operations in town.
Okay, there you go.
So they have not been meeting.
Okay.
so could I just ask a question about that? Just to follow up, I had followed up about who is responsible for Town Beach, and it was Park and Rec,
Park and
but I was
Recreation.
thinking of, not soils necessarily, but erosion. We kind of chatted about waterways a little bit about that. So the environmental waterway.
We have a
beach
waterways,
erosion,
we have a waterways commission.
That
So
would be
in that-
conservation though, it deals with erosion and.
Soils.
Right, that's not-
Soils is
for
strictly,
those-
strictly for gravel removal on
Okay.
any parcel in the town that exceeds, I forgot how many square yards.
Okay, so, just to confirm, obviously, because Terry, you weren't here last week, so obviously you're staying on capital improvements.
I would love to.
Yes, fine. John obviously is just reappointed to CPC. Council on Aging, it's been Bill Bowles. Now, Patrick, I added your name to the areas you were interested in.
Yep.
Right now, Bill has it. I mean, you're welcome to be backup, I guess, at that point.
Well, I was just gonna suggest that, because if sometime I can't make it, if
Yeah.
Patrick wants to attend,
Yeah, and
You know?
those ones are in the morning too, right?
yeah, the 9 o'clock in the
Okay.
Yeah, so
morning.
if I have things at work and I can't go too, so it would be
And
good
they,
to have two people.
and they can say in the meeting minutes, they often do that if I
Yeah,
can't make it.
sure.
Okay,
Go
that's
line
fair.
dancing on Fridays.
Yeah.
So DPW, I took my name off, I had far too many boards. Brian, you still on the
Yes.
DPW?
Yes.
And Deirdre, this is the one you
Yes.
had interest in? Okay,
Very
perfect.
so.
Board of Health, I would like to not be on. As I said, I'm just trying to eliminate. Anybody interested in Board of Health?
I'll do Board of Health.
Carrie, are you sure?
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot.
Is it really that bad?
No, not at all. No, I'm
I'll
just
do Board of
thinking of people's schedules.
Well, when do they usually meet?
They just had a meeting yesterday, it's during the day, and they are recorded.
Okay.
That makes it tough.
Oh, they are recorded, so that would make it a lot easier.
Which one is it?
Board of
By
Health.
Zoom.
It's like
Oh,
4:30,
okay.
right? During the day?
Yeah.
Or early.
Later
It's-
later in the afternoon.
Yeah, it's not evening, I know. It's like late in the afternoon, but they're not normally in person, though I think yesterday's was.
Okay.
It's hybrid, that's why the TV was in the
I've
room.
actually watched them on
Actually.
mine before.
But yes, I've watched recordings and been to
What-
one live meeting.
What days do they usually run on, or is it just random?
I think it's Wednesdays.
Yeah.
Wednesdays?
It's once a month.
Yeah. I think I can do that.
As I said, the recording is available.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can be the backup if you'd like.
Huh?
I
Yeah,
could be your backup
that would
if
be
you'd like.
awesome.
Okay,
That would be good to have somebody to like
I'd be happy to.
flip flop with, yeah. Clearly, I'm not always good with my schedule.
As I said, they're recorded.
I'm working on it.
All righty, library, Patrick, I put you as second, I can't forfeit the library. I
Sure.
like my library people. Parks, Carrie,
That's me, yeah, they meet like rarely, so that's an easy one.
okay.
It's like twice a year or something like that, 4 times a year. It's not
Planning
much.
board, which is also recorded, but Nate, you said yes? And Deirdre?
You can take me off of that if Nate wants to jump in there.
Works.
And Nate it is. So police, as we discussed, is not like a monthly meeting or a weekly meeting. It's infrequent contact by the two people that I knew. If that still interests you.
Well, I saw it blank, and the work that I've done in my previous life or up north would be to work with the police on even designing buildings, schools. I'm sure Mr. Kiley and the superintendent are working in concert with the police in regards to that kind of activity. But we also had a community group that was responsive to any hate crime or anything like that, that was kind of responsive within the community that had church leaders and police and school and, you know, folks like that. So when I saw it blank, I'm like, oh, I can jump in there if you'd like, but if that's not
that's
what
fine.
it really is.
The two, well, honestly, I
And
haven't
what?
had exposure to it. The two people that had it, as I said, they met infrequently with the chief.
But I would assume there are capital needs in watching
No,
the fall
that's
town
capital.
meeting
Well, that's
and.
not necessarily the role of this.
Yeah.
No.
No, they'll come under capital, wouldn't come under
Okay.
police.
There's no official
Right.
role with the police in this liaison role.
There's no accountability for liaisons in terms of making, the purpose of the liaison role is just to listen and see if there's anything that's like, we should have a heads up on.
Gotcha.
It's not functional in terms of what they're doing, you're not weighing in, they're not gonna be asking you your opinion about anything, you're just gonna be listening. But sometimes things come up, like, for example, council on aging, there are some things that have a financial
Impact.
impact, and so we come
Could be
back, but
incidents of
it should be
something.
very light duty, it should
Okay.
not be, like, John does CPC because he's on the CPC and he knows what's going on there. I do capital because I'm on the capital committee, it's not, it's a different role than the other
think-
So
ones.
when you say you're on the capital committee, is that the liaison role?
No,
She's
Oh,
actually
the
on
actual
the
No,
committee.
she's actually on the committee.
She's actually on
She's
the
a member of
committee.
that
There were
committee.
some, you know,
Okay.
like CPC, I'm actually on the committee.
You
So,
can do both.
oh, absolutely.
Well, Terry's the finance committee person, on the capital, right?
So that's where the voting, that's where the voting thing comes in.
Right.
That's where the voting thing comes in.
So for instance,
Gotcha.
DPW doesn't have a place on their board for the finance committee, but
Right.
we attend to listen to what they're talking about, to see if there's any potential financial impact.
So if I go down this list, I see ag voting, budget advisory voting, capital and voting, and soils and voting, and those can be dual roles.
Wait, you might want to separate those.
The voting one?
Yeah, because you're not just a liaison, you're an active member of that board
Yeah.
or committee,
That's what I'm
right?
trying to figure
So
out.
you're
I
representing
can
the
divide
finance
it.
committee
I'll
as an
I'll
active
switch
member,
it.
and the others are actually just liaisons, you're there,
Yeah,
you know.
you're there to listen.
Yeah, listen,
It's
you make
tricky
your
because it
feedback.
does,
I'm gonna
it kind
change
of doesn't
my
make sense to
mind
have somebody go to CPC if you are there already,
Right.
you know?
Right, and that's the only reason why, there's no
Yeah.
reason to have a liaison there, I'm already there.
You're right, Cody.
maybe
but the
separate it
Budget
out.
Advisory Committee
Right, you're actually
has
involved in the-
specific,
yeah.
yeah.
But you vote,
But
so you vote, you
On
vote.
some of it, yes, that's why.
But I'm not representing the finance committee in my vote there.
But
Yeah,
you're
and-
voting on capital, so.
True.
You're voting on the entire capital budget for the town of Dartmouth as.
Sure am,
a
Deirdre.
No, I just really, and we're voting, and he's voting on soils, but not the beach, but I'm getting in my head, and I'm so sorry.
No, some of
But
this stuff
finance
is,
committee members
Questions?
can also be voting members of committees with not asterisks, but the word voting next to it.
So,
Why can't you have it?
Wait.
Well, because you're appointed to those boards as
I
well,
think that we
by
have
the
to
way.
back up to
Appointed to
explain
the,
it.
who appoints the board, who,
We have to take, can I take a step back for you
Yes.
for a second?
Thank you, so
some
sorry.
of these boards request to have representation from different other committees. So they want somebody from this committee to sit on the board and somebody from, I don't know, name another committee that
to
would.
be involved in
Yes, to
decision
make it
making.
like
So
a
when I go to
rounded
Capital,
board.
I'm involved in decision making. John's involved in decision making with the CPC.
Okay.
If you're a liaison, you're not. You're just
Recommending.
listening, coming back to, but it didn't
Yeah.
make sense to have somebody be a liaison to the committee if I'm already on it. I can just come back and
So
tell
what
people.
does the budget advisory committee
It's brand new.
do?
We don't even know what it's gonna be.
And now, if there's two members from this group, which is myself and Brian, it was chosen by the group. The school committee has two members, chosen by the school committee. The select board has two members, chosen by the select
But what do
board.
they
And I think
vote
it's
on?
Cody, Gary, Jim Kiley. Did I miss anybody?
No, I think that's everyone, yeah.
So that's who it is. And that's a brand-new group meant to give a deeper dive into the budget.
Deirdre, I would be glad to meet with you afterwards and go through
Yeah.
some of this stuff, because
Thank you.
I highly
some of
recommend
it's
that.
historical, some of
Yeah.
it's historical.
Just want to, for example, whoever the liaison for the police, I would think all you need to do is call the police chief every once in a while. Is there anything that the finance
any
committee
update.
should be aware of that you're doing? That's it. You're not there to influence or form an
That's-
opinion on
yes, what they
community
did.
policing.
That's what
That's
they
not
did.
your role as a liaison.
Exactly.
It's just to report back
Okay.
on matters that may relate to
Okay.
town
financials,
finances.
that's right.
Yep.
And it has an impact to finance.
Like what doesn't? Okay,
no,
but the
no, I can have that
departmental budget,
conversation.
I get it, I get it, I get it, I'm sorry, it's just really new to me. That's what people used to say, everything costs
If they're
money.
talking about, traffic violations, that.
No,
necessarily-
I'm just really,
No, it's just a
so,
matter of introducing yourself and saying, we just want to keep in touch. They're, as I said, the two previous people who held that role simply touched base with them. There weren't big
thank you.
meetings,
Okay, I get it now.
okay?
I think like a good example is like when they needed to replace all the firearms recently, like bringing something back and just making the committee aware before they come and present, so we're not
Well, we got
taking
that
it
from the
back.
capital committee.
Oh, we got it from the Carol.
Yeah, exactly. So getting back then to planning, so planning's a voting, so you're a member, it has, but that's the asterisk, that doesn't vote. Okay, sorry.
An example,
Asterisks are all gone.
They're all, yeah,
an
exactly.
example, Deirdre, might be, like on DPW, they're planning to hire consultants to
Okay,
study the efficiency of the department.
so that's the only role I'd have at DPW as opposed to taking a look at the capital requirements of the sewer plant? Like,
You
so I
could.
don't, do have anything to have a.
Could.
I mean, you could hear them talk about
No.
it, but that's not, the role is just to
Okay.
listen.
So
Okay,
go
all right,
listen,
I
so
got
the
it.
point
Rules on
the
each.
point that I was gonna make about the efficiency study
Yeah, they all have
is
board.
they're
Library has a
picking a
board, yeah.
consulting company,
Planning
so it might
board,
be good
town
for
charter.
us in here to know
What's
what the
going on.
parameters of the study are gonna be.
And then bring that
And then
back to
bring
the
it back
group so
here.
that everybody
Or if it gets so
understands.
complicated,
That's
it might be a
what liaison
recommendation
does.
to the chairperson to have somebody from the
Gotcha.
board come here and make a
And
presentation.
your role here, when you're a finance committee, what they're presenting to us is the time to ask those questions that you may have had sitting, listening to a meeting. It's not to interrupt and say,
Correct.
wait a
Okay.
minute, that's your role here. Because that, they will, it's just to give us a heads up what's going on, and when they're here, ask those questions.
So you can ask, I attend, and I ask questions. And
We're not supposed to, though. We're supposed to be silent.
But you're a
and
member of
just
the
take notes.
public, as a member of the
Yeah,
public,
as a
you
public,
have every
right,
right
yeah,
to-
You as a
you-
member of
yeah,
the
yeah.
public. Fair enough.
So
Okay.
Gary and I had a little sidebar. I don't know if you need police on here. You don't have any other department, right? These are all boards and committees. That's the only one that doesn't have a board or committee.
Okay.
I don't know if you need it, but you don't have board of assessors.
Well, I don't know how this list was created. It's just been this way for 5 years.
So,
I
so,
don't, probably longer, yeah.
so I would
Longer.
recommend take police off and put board of assessors
Board of
on.
Assessors on.
That makes more sense.
It does.
All right? I have no problem with that.
Except that,
Wait, but now, did you know
do.
to
No,
do
Brian
that?
has a
I was
problem.
gonna say,
That
except
is
that,
a department of the town of Dartmouth. That belongs on a list of some sort. If a critical, if a critical incident happens in town, and is there a group that kind of, reports out the
so,
that doesn't
First of all, we
come
have a select board
Okay.
and the
I'm
police
sorry.
department, it's not us.
We have a lot of professional staff that, headed by myself and, Gary.
Right, and we have
So,
town
so I don't think you wanna get
Not
into
us.
departments here. I think the idea is
So I
boards
just
and
call the
committees.
phone, I go, hey, how's it doing? Do you have anything that I should bring back to the
That
finance
one,
committee?
The Board of
Okay.
Assessors meets,
Well,
don't
it's
they?
Yeah, board of assessors has
Yeah,
regular
you'd have to go to
meetings.
those like, whoever's on the liaison for the Board of Assessors would go to the meetings and sit and take notes and bring it back.
except that,
Okay.
what are they, the third biggest budget in town?
That's my
What
point.
was it, fourth biggest budget?
You've got emergency management, like who handles the emergency management?
That's a separate department.
They-
That
it-
doesn't-
We
It's not
have
us.
police commissioners
It's
that
not
oversee
us.
that
I
department.
got you, it doesn't come under our purview.
We are a
If you wanna do that, you're
professionalized
gonna
government
be
here.
in
Doug.
every
but we're
board,
not-
every
we're not
committee.
controlling
and
That's
stuff.
major money. Okay, I'm
But
sorry.
we're
That's
professionalized
right.
here, so for the most part, we have professionals that run the day-to-day stuff.
I understand.
And then the board's committees.
We have a town
direct.
administrator.
I just didn't understand what the liaison role is and isn't.
Just
We
to
had
listen in.
asterisks and we had voting, and I had interest in certain things, and now I'm just learning that it's really take notes, report out, and so that's, I just need to understand my role,
Yeah,
that's all.
there you go, there's the word.
Thank you very much.
Communication,
Just listen and report.
That's what it is.
perfect.
Beautiful.
Yes.
So schools should be school committee.
Yes. School committee, that's correct.
Waterways Commission.
That was a group that was called the Harbor Plan Implementation
So that was the question
Group.
that came up last week, John, I don't recall your opinion. But now Brian's here because you're on it, what's the
Well,
actual
it
name?
hasn't met in a long time because the person that was leading it resigned and nobody took up
But
the,
you still have the waterways management.
but you still have the waterways, which this thing reported to them,
Yeah.
but it hasn't been reconstituted.
And it's harbor only and not Town Beach, and parks up there is
Well,
park and
Palm Beach
recreation.
comes under
there
Parks
was-
and Recreation.
Okay,
Question for Brian,
Yes.
because it was next to your name.
Yes, yes.
So what is that harbor in
The
parentheses?
harbor, there was a plan developed on
It was
how
a
to-
master plan.
Right, that was.
That's
how-
done.
Well, no, it was to develop the downtown area economically, and that was part of it. To talk about water quality down there, that was part of it. Talk about moorings, that was part of it. Docks, that was
Does
part
that
of it.
no longer exist?
Yeah, it's on the books, but it hasn't met in over a year.
Then discussion of, does it make sense for just the Waterways Management Commission to take that on, because it's a dormant kind of committee, the harbor management implementation.
But the idea was there was also the blue economy, they were talking about how to.
Yeah,
how
yeah,
to-
that, we had the harbor management plan
Right.
was created, and this group was tasked with implementing basically what was found in that plan.
And water quality was part of it in the harbor. But then there was also some talk at the last meeting of having a group that, having a person or a committee that oversaw water quality in the whole town.
We just approved that charge at one of the most recent select board meetings.
Oh, okay,
So
all right.
there will be a committee.
Yeah,
for
a
that.
committee, so include the water and the water treatment plants.
Water quality across the whole.
Including the
municipality.
harbor.
Yeah, exactly.
So what about something like a Woods Hole report that talks about the beach erosion going from Hayden Aram all the way out to
So we
Motion?
do, we're getting a little bit off track, and I'm more than happy to talk, we can meet, but we have like municipal vulnerability preparedness, so that's incorporated with a lot of our planning documents, and we take on those projects typically as an administration, and they're kind of signed out to the applicable department. But we don't have a natural resources division, for instance, that would oversee something like that.
Okay, thank
I
you.
think a meeting with Cody would make sense, because you get a sense of the organization. The finance committee in some ways is a little bit boring, because it's just looking at decisions made by the town financially and offering an opinion about them. And then also, if there's things being neglected, asking questions about that and why. So it's not like something that would ever deal with erosion. And we've had a little trouble
Really?
in the past
With
year
Town Beach?
with getting off track and getting involved in some things that other committees take care of. So I can
helpful to
explain
me.
more of
That
that.
would be very helpful to
I take
me.
exception to that,
No,
because
just
if you,
kidding, Brian.
hold on, if you read the charter, it says that this group can, town charter, can question anybody, any town official about expenditures made. So if you wanted to get into that and you wanted to have a discussion with whoever's in charge of that particular area, you have the authority to talk about why they're spending the money, what's the rationale, what's the goal, et cetera.
But through this body, not through the liaison.
You could, yeah, you could talk about it.
No, as a
Thank you.
person, you can, with respect to their time and other
And
responsibilities.
also respect to finances.
And that's
too.
all
Yes.
that's all the charter says. So if you can get a number of people interested in what you're asking about, and it has financial impact on the town, and there's a plan to execute that spends money, you can talk about it, or ask
Helpful
questions.
to understand, thank you very much.
Can I suggest that we go back to assigning people for these jobs? And some of it will be on the job
We're
learning,
almost
because I think we're wasting some time that we could use to talk about other things.
We've strayed, Terry?
No, we never do.
That is
The
something,
Waterways Management Commission,
Back on track, thank you.
I only got that far in my typing when we were talking.
and then the committee, the committee Brian was on was the Harbor Management Plan Implementation Committee.
Which I think might have been separate, or,
Okay,
Dissolved, or is
so
it still active?
if I
It hasn't
may,
officially been dissolved, but they haven't met.
no,
That's
we
what
haven't
Brian
met in over a year.
so the Waterways Management Commission exists?
Yes.
Yes?
Yeah.
And Brian, do you wish to be the liaison? Because your name was there, but that doesn't, it's not a requirement.
I could, yeah, I can go.
Okay.
I know.
To be frank, that one probably makes more sense, because
Okay.
that's more, that's the harbor master's office and all of that work down there, so.
Yeah, I'll do it.
I didn't want to skip too far ahead here, because we do have to actually go down this list. So we left off with Board of
do it.
Health, Library, Parks, Carry, Planning, blah, blah, blah. Board of Assessors, which we quietly changed next to
Sure.
Deirdre's name.
know, poor Tidra.
Sure. Hey, that's what happens.
Is she going, are you taking
She's-
Board of Assessors?
I'm at the keyboard.
Sure, just take
Okay.
notes and report back.
That's it,
Okay,
thank you.
that's it.
So town charter is, I don't know, does it need to exist still?
It's not happening right now. Thank the
So
good
not
Lord.
happening right now, or take it off the
Oh, I
list?
don't know, it took so long, it might be time to re-implement it.
Reconstitute.
Oh, start it again.
5 years of meetings, it must be time.
They still don't have a bylaw committee, so
Right.
you can hear that these committees come and go when they're
Some do.
appointed, and we just want to keep communication going with the finance.
Do you
committee.
want me to keep it on the
Take it off,
list?
no, take it off.
Okay, we'll take it off.
Please, take it off.
understood, I'll fix that after. What happened? Oh, I added
You
the
took the
thing.
wrong one, all
Yeah.
right.
Uh-oh.
No, I just
That's
added
what
a
I'm
line.
doing. There you
School committee, we have Bill, Carrie, and Nate.
go. Yep, that's fine.
Can
And
I,
it's the park board and the library trustees, is that board? So it's not parks, it's park board.
Parks and
Parks and
Recreation.
Recreation.
Parks, yeah.
Yep.
do we need 3 people at the schools?
Well, supposing somebody doesn't show up, as a backup.
In terms of if somebody can't go, you could always ask somebody else to
cover.
fill in. But
Yeah.
in terms of a regular responsibility, do
board.
we really need 3 people?
I mean, I usually go, granted, I did not go to the last like 1 or 2 meetings, but I usually last year was consistent every Monday that they had, every other Monday, I would go. Nate usually went, even if when he wasn't on the committee, he was always at every school committee meeting.
And that's a good
So,
point too. You can go to any meeting that you want to go to.
Okay.
Can I back up capital? Capital's voting, can I back up capital?
Can you back up?
For
Ken?
voting, no, that's why I think we should separate these. So if you're assigned a voting member,
But you can go to
you
it.
can go, but you
All these
can't have
meetings
a
are
backup
public
voting
meetings.
member,
Okay.
yeah.
All public meetings.
I just looked in the bylaws. So the Capital Improvements Committee does not ask for somebody from the Finance Committee to be on their committee. They just, Greg's practice before and Gary's practice now, it made sense to them to have somebody from the Finance Committee on the Capital Improvements Committee. And I volunteered because I wanted to learn about it. So it's not an official thing, Deirdre.
Okay, so the very last committee that says Long-Term Capital Planning Committee, what's the difference between that and capital improvements that are voting?
Long-term capital is looking at 30, 40, 50 years in the future. The reason for that committee is that we haven't done much planning on things like schools, DPW, and instead, in the past, say, 20 years, it's been more reactive to when there's a problem. So they're trying to put in process a way to,
And is that all fixed assets across the board, vehicles? Is that all your GASB stuff that?
it's, no.
Yeah,
the
Long
capital-
range
Long
is looking at
range is-
more larger
Build-
projects.
Schools,
The
treatment plants.
Capital Improvements Committee is the one that's more like 5, 10 years.
I was just gonna say, it's probably a 5-year plan and then some, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know, the long-term capital committee is in place right now. I don't know if it will be there forever. It might combine with the capital, I don't really know. We'll have to see what happens
you.
with it.
Thank you.
Okay, back to the list where we left off. School committee, the 3 people that are listed, everyone wanted to keep that role. That's why there's 3. Select board, Terry, I know you always go.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody else wants to go,
I
they're
don't-
very
Anyway,
entertaining.
I'm going. It can be.
I'm watching TV.
No questions asked. Anyway, soils, John
That's
Souza.
the Soils Conservation Board.
I'm dying to ask a question about an example of a vote, but I don't want to take any time.
The next one is the Veterans Advisory Commission, Board, rather.
I don't know that we need that, do we?
I don't think we really need it. Every time
Well, because there's a difference between a board and a committee, absolutely.
Yeah?
Yeah,
So let's point it out, call it for what it is,
Veterans Advisory Board.
yes.
I agree.
So, Brian, are you saying you've never been?
No, I've been. It pretty much operates on its own and really doesn't require much from us because it's all matching funds from the state. So,
So do we need to have somebody there?
Well, in theory, I could tell you the same thing about the library trustees.
Yeah, but you love,
yeah, but these, but
you love
they're
going
not
to
out
those
there
anyway.
making money.
the difference
per
would
se.
be,
But you love going to it anyway, Jimmy.
difference
Now, what
would-
are you
Right, I'm not
talking
complaining about
There
it.
you go, see?
the difference would be, it's
being there.
really established federal programs. And there's really not much impact we can have here on that.
Would each committee appreciate knowing that they're in our minds and we have a
Exactly. That is
liaison
part
to
of it,
them
too.
and they
That
could
is
call
it.
me
Yes.
if they have any
No, I
question
call
whatsoever?
I call the guy who runs the, what do they call the veterans?
Veterans.
agent?
I call him
Services
once a
officer.
year and just remind him that we're interested and to see, is there any way we can be of assistance in what he's doing? And he always says no.
So then I'm gonna call the police chief and ask him the same
An
thing.
information thing.
They took the police off of there.
I know, but I'm gonna call him anyway. He's the largest department in town. Why wouldn't you do the same exact thing?
So I'll just, you know, Brian is an example, and Brian's really good, and you all kind of know Brian. You know, in
Brian Levesque,
yeah,
not
the
this
chief.
Brian.
You mean the
I'm
chief.
sorry, the chief always comes in.
We know this
and
Brian.
gives you know, very good information and is always available to our residents.
Mm-hmm.
However, I just want to remind everyone, even on the finance committee, just be mindful of their time in things that we're asking of them. And
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I'd ask that you not ask them to do things or prepare things unless it's a
Correct.
finance committee, right, request. And then it can go through us and we can make sure it's get done. But I just don't want to hear back from a department head, oh, I'm preparing this report for Terry, or, you know, it should come from the finance committee if it's something that is.
Correct.
is-
And I will say that
Liaison role I'm looking at,
The
not
chief-
something like that.
is one of the more detailed budgets
Oh, he does a great
that he
job, yeah.
presents to us. Everybody's different, everybody's style is different, but he is right on with what they're doing,
But it's
why
not
they're
the
doing
point.
it.
That's not my
etc.
point. That's like the school
No,
department.
I'm just
sure Mr.
talking about the
Kiley is
chief.
too. But I'm suggesting that every department deserves a liaison. And I'm just suggesting that.
I think
But I
there needs to
understand
be
exactly what
maybe a
you're
little bit
saying.
more trust in the administration.
Oh, it has
and we
nothing
rep-
to do with that,
No,
though.
but we come back, you know, Gary, I'm at almost every meeting, Gary's at every meeting, and we're regularly meeting with these departments. So if anything comes up in the day-to-day operational stuff that is financial implications, that's our job to make sure you're aware of it.
And to be honest with you, Deirdre, the person that should have these boards and committees in their mind and hearts is the select board. They're the group that should have their eyes on things, you know, asking people to come in and meet with them. That's not really the role of the finance committee. It is being addressed, but in these positions are put in place for the purposes of communication, because historically, departments haven't really communicated very well with each other, and we're improving in that area. This is one of the ways to do
It's
it.
come a long way, certainly in my tenure here, and you've been here longer, Terry, but I think
Yes.
communication has increased dramatically
Yeah, I
with,
think it's
when we speak with departments,
pretty good.
or when they present their budgets to us with some of the, you know, things we've asked for in addition, and I know it was challenging to get folks to give us a little bit different information every year, but we have to be respectful of their time.
In the 3 fire districts or precincts, and they have no jurisdiction whatsoever. No tax rate, no capital planning, no fire safe.
They do all of that,
I'm
but
on-
it's
Oh, I
independent of us,
know,
yeah.
I'm just,
What do
I'm
you-
not used to a finance committee
Interesting,
not looking at the largest departments.
Oh,
And
no,
and
we
I'm just
look at
not.
them.
Look at them all.
We're looking at it when they present their budget
Thank you.
to us.
Okay.
We look at them, we
Okay.
query them, believe me.
We scrutinize, we see every line item.
We do.
scrutinize and
Every-
question.
Right. Every
We've
year-
been criticized for asking
I'm
too
just
many
used to a
questions.
little more, hey,
Well,
how
that's-
are you? This is what I'm trying
Well,
to
you
do. I
know-
want to root for you.
You know,
I want to do this.
You know, Deidre, when in
but-
Rome, we do as the Romans do, right?
Okay, I'm just.
Can
I
we
get my
move
role.
on?
Yes, of course.
Thank you. Overdosed on finance committee assignments. I will update this as we have discussed and hopefully have all the correct names. Thank you, John.
I was just looking at the town's website and going down.
No, I know.
Yeah.
You know what's happens, we've looked at this list every year, it's been the same, it's been one little abbreviated word and we move on.
Right.
Just one question about the Veterans Advisory Board. Patrick, once again, we added you because it was one of the boards you expressed interest in. I don't,
There's not much
as
that goes
Brian
on.
said, I'm not sure it requires two people.
I just looked at the agenda center, and the last agenda was January of 2024, so I don't think there's even really anything to,
Okay.
you know, besides maybe calling him. I deal with him on Chapter 115 issues, so I talk to him from time
Oh,
to time
okay.
anyway, so.
Oh, there you go.
Nice.
But
That's why you had interest in it, because you know him.
I do a lot of veterans things,
Okay.
like disability stuff for
Okay.
people that I know,
Nice.
and, you know, claims through work,
That's
so
fair.
I'm familiar with it.
Nice.
Okay. I'm gonna leave it this way.
Okay.
Comes under forever hold your peace. Thank you.
Sounds good.
All righty. Let me just save that. So, what's next? Cody,
All right, Cody.
are you ready to talk about grants and economic development for us?
Want to unplug and I can share the.
Of course. Pass this down to,
John, can you, somebody
Thank you.
pass it down?
Thank you. Yeah, mine doesn't have the, So we do grants updates, about every 6 months we update, and my goal is to give this presentation to the select board every 6 months. So this is not, hasn't been updated since July when it was given to the board, and it was actually a joint meeting with the finance committee, but I don't think all members were present. So I'll run through this kind of quickly, and if there's any high-level questions, but you can anticipate another update on this sometime in January, early February, on our progress through the fiscal year. So, you know, there's a number of items in here that we'll discuss. The first one is just on the grant activity and some of the success. You can see it's sporadic at times. It depends on, a lot of it really depends on the state administration, what we have for an administration at the state level, because that can guide what the local initiatives are. So we have seen, in the past couple of years at least, you know, our lieutenant governor is a former mayor. There's been a little bit more of a commitment to some local programming, but we're also seeing some that we anticipate actually getting taken away through community compact grants and potentially loss of funding to the Seaport Economic Council to a degree. So it varies. Federal grants, you know, we don't take on a ton of federal grants. It varies. We do have one large federal grant right now where Dartmouth is the recipient. It's for a domestic violence. We provide domestic violence advocates actually throughout most of Bristol County, and we receive that grant and administer it with the assistance of the New Bedford Women's Center and the District Attorney's Office. But you can see, you know, average about $2 million a year. If we get a large grant, it can throw off that average. So you can see in fiscal '25, we got in around $4 million. That's primarily that we got a $2.1 million MassWorks grant for some sewer infrastructure. So if we get those large grants, and if you were to go back into prior fiscal years, that would be thrown off even more when we get the grant funding for the library construction, right? So it varies, but right around $2 million is where we average in competitive grants. Yeah, there you go. A few notable grant-funded projects. We have the small boat marina, the Hathaway Small Boat Marina that was Seaport Economic Council funded, and the CPC also provided funds. Municipal vulnerability preparedness, as I mentioned to Deidre earlier, to design some different areas where we have vulnerability using resilient infrastructure. That $2.1 million that I mentioned to our pump stations on Ellswick pump stations and Route 6. And then, as you all know, we're undergoing a compensation and classification study. The Community Compact Program provided $50,000 towards that program. Other programs that we actually run using grant funds. So we have the Dartmouth Home Rehab Program. So this is CPC funded. What we do is it's used for income eligible recipients to address code violations essentially in their home. So we have particularly, it's usually elderly individuals. And what it is if you're qualified under the guidelines, if you need new roof, new windows, things like that, you get a 0% interest deferred payment loan. And we essentially just put a deed restriction on the home, and it doesn't have to get paid until the home goes for sale. And then the town is paid back. Again, no interest, no fees or anything like that. The Home Buyer Assistance Program, we're currently in the process of beginning that again. This is great. Again, CPA funded through the Affordable Housing Trust. And it essentially provides a buy down of market rate homes for first-time home buyers that are income eligible to buy a home in Dartmouth. So take a $500,000 home, we may give $200,000, right, to buy down the price of that home to make it affordable. The individual who qualifies and is selected through a lottery buys the home for $300,000. We put a permanent deed restriction on the home that allows it to be affordable in perpetuity, so it can never be sold at market rate again. The value to that also being, that goes towards our subsidized housing inventory, which we have a goal of 10% set by the state. If we don't have 10%, that's what makes us susceptible to 40Bs, which we have a few of them in the pipeline right now. If you reach that 10%, you can actually deny 40Bs without an appeal process. Fuel Assistance Program is a grant funded through the Attorney General's office. Very unique. Dartmouth is one of only a handful of communities that's taken advantage of this. And we are directly providing fuel assistance to our residents through these funds. If you do not use the AG funds, there's actually a law in place. As a municipality, you cannot directly administer fuel assistance. It has to be through a third party. So like PACE out of New Bedford does it. But because we're using funds from the Attorney General's, basically there were some lawsuits with some fuel companies. They are allowed to administer it to us, and we sub-administer that. But that's all grant funded through the AG's office.
Cody, can I just ask a quick
Yeah.
question? How are you notifying or sharing these programs with residents?
Yeah, sure. So all of them are primarily through the Council on Aging. We do updates to the Select Board to share that information. When the fuel assistance opens, we let the Dartmouth Week know, and they'll post an ad about it. As we get a new communications staff member on board, I think we'll start to see some of that, improve and do some short videos and things like that. I think I've talked about before, wanting to start doing a newsletter, right, that comes out of Town Hall. That's something we would include in our newsletter as well. So, I think one of the misconceptions with grants that we have is it's not the ability to get them. There's a lot of grants out there. The challenge, and even the staffing for us to put the applications in, is not necessarily a challenge. The challenge comes in having shovel-ready projects, right? So, for instance, a DPW project needs to be shovel-ready. We need to have design, in a lot of cases, completed. And then you have a certain window of being able to go after that project. You then usually have, if you're awarded, have a certain time frame where you have to complete the project. Now, in several cases, if you do not complete in that time frame, you have to give the funds back. The funds have to be given back. And then what happens is I'm not going to say you're blacklisted, but you fall to the bottom of the list because this, depending on who the agency is, will see it as you weren't able to take advantage of these funds in the past. You're not going to prioritize you going forward.
So do you want me to wait? I have some questions. Why don't you finish and I'll have some questions.
Yeah, I can continue. So that's one of the challenges that we face, but it's really on the project management side of things where we see our challenges. You hear from departments, through the budget season, human capital is certainly a challenge in most of our departments. There's not a lot of fat, right? So taking on maybe projects that we're not ready for because there's a grant opportunity can be challenging at times. And then there's sometimes a match portion. Now, if we're planning in advance and it's a project we know about, you saw that this year with capital, there was two items in the capital plan that are actually matches to grants, so not a problem. What you find in mid-year could be you have a 30 to 60-day grant window, something pops up. If we don't have the funds available, a lot of times, we're not eligible for that. We did appropriate community development funds at this past town meeting as well, to the tune of $100,000. We've used that pot of money as one of our avenues, but without a dedicated grant match fund, it can definitely be a challenge for us. So just some of the roles, responsibilities. Again, my office really works in conjunction with departments and department heads in the grant seeking, figuring out what grants are out there. We share those regularly with departments. Hey, do you have anything that would fit this project or this grant? What projects are you looking to do so we can keep an eye out for these grants? And then the grant administration is primarily handled by my office in conjunction with the departments, really gathering the information because they're the ones that are overseeing the projects. And then project management, again, that really is where it falls onto the department level. You can have someone who works in grants, but if you're working on a DPW project, the assistant town administrator doesn't know anything about laying new sewer, upgrading pump stations. So in some cases, we have engineering firms that are working through these things. In a lot of cases, it falls directly on the department, which is where that human capital side comes in. So just some different strategies for us to consider. We're always looking at the select board's goals, capital improvement plan. and our other planning documents to keep an eye on projects that we can potentially pursue for grant funds as new grants are available. Community Preservation Acts funds is a great tool for us. We had previously, again, that CDBG funds is what we just appropriated at the fall, which allows us to have some grant match available. SERPED, which is the Southeastern Regional Planning Economic Development District, they leverage the district local technical assistance program, which then they're able to conduct usually technical support for us through it's basically state grant funds. And then again, we really sometimes rely on subject matter experts to bring them in. So I'll give you an example. We were preparing a CZM, Coastal Zone Management Grant, to address some of the erosion at Apponeganset and Dias Landing. You needed rough engineering plans. We don't have anyone internally, right, that can do that. So that's an example of we use those community development funds, hired an engineering firm to the tune of a couple $1,000s, help us prepare those plans and prepare a grant application to send in. That's,
I have a question.
sure, yeah.
So somewhere in that, I think is in the challenges section, it was the last
Yeah,
thing up
yeah.
there. It says something, staffing levels often limit our ability, I think you touched on this also, to fully manage and implement. But most of these things are, at least generating interest in the grant comes out of a particular department, right? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. So how do you get around, I mean, who makes the decision on what we can go after or can't go after? The departments or?
Oh, it's a group effort. We're speaking with the departments to determine if it's an ongoing project, we're going after it, right? Because we know we've already accounted for that internal capacity to manage that project. If it's something we have, maybe we've talked about it, we didn't plan on going after it now, it's a conversation with the department head. Is this something, if we are awarded this, do we have the internal capacity? And that, it goes back to the last thing we want to do is go for the grant, get it, and then not be able to
I
execute.
understand. But you also mentioned lack of ability to manage the grant. But some grants, or quite a few grants, allow management to be outside of the organization that gets the grant.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm just a little confused on how, how does the town move ahead to decide what they have capacity to do or not do?
It's a case-by-case basis, so it depends on the department, it depends on what the project is. So, right now, we are pursuing pump station upgrades for the Ellswick and Route 6. DPW, unfortunately, at this time, does not, if we were presented with a grant opportunity for a somewhat large project, I would not have confidence that we could take that on at this point due to just the ongoing operations. So I would forego, depending on what, I would forego that. Even if you can bring in outside consulting, there's still a level of internal management that needs to occur
Oh, no,
with
I
these.
understand. But, so, do you have a meeting in the beginning of each year to talk about
I meet with department,
grant?
we talk monthly, and if there's grants that come up, then it comes up in our monthly meeting with the
All right,
department.
so who, but I mean, so you'll rely on the departments to service the grants, or you service the grants with the departments, or?
No, it's typically the assistant town administrator, that oversees grants, and they'll work directly with the department head, and then if opportunities become available, they make sure that I'm aware of those opportunities, and then it's typically a conversation with the department head. The conversation only occurs if I'm told, no, we're not gonna take that on right now. If it's something the department head says, yeah, this is a great project, then I trust they know their operation and they move forward. If I'm told, hey, we don't have the bandwidth at this point, then it's a conversation I have, well, what's going on, why not? And-
So
and-
am I envisioning like just take DPW, in the beginning of the year, somebody says to them, okay, these are the grants that are available? Are there
No,
any-
because they are sporadic, so we.
Or as they come up and
As
they
they come
relate?
up, it's a conversation, we'll pass them along. Do you have any projects that would fit into this?
Okay, so anytime something typically comes up for
Yeah.
DPW, even though you might, whoever's in charge might suspect that we don't have bandwidth to do it, it still gets
Still,
passed
oh yeah,
through?
it's still a conversation, right? Because, and even with some of these, there could be lower level, less requirement on our end
Yeah.
that we want to make sure we're looking at. Is there, maybe we're not applying for that large project, but is there a smaller opportunity that is less, less on our behalf, or something that we're doing already, right? Something from our capital plan. That's one of the things we're always looking at, the 5-year capital plan, when grants are coming up, and is there a way to pursue grants for those rather than go into, the town's free
Yeah,
cash?
so I have another question. I don't expect you to answer it here, but do we keep any statistics on grants that we get and grants that we don't get, and reasons why?
I was gonna ask that question.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah,
I was gonna ask that question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So if you go to page 3, and this is what we get, but we have a spreadsheet, and we'll include it in the next report that we give, that has basically our success level, ones that we've applied for, ones that we haven't gotten.
Do you have reasons why we haven't
In
gotten
some
them?
cases,
Some
we do.
cases.
In some cases, that we'll get feedback of why. In some cases, the agencies won't provide feedback. But I'd say it's probably 70-30. We usually get feedback on what we can do.
good.
A lot of it comes down to competitiveness. So we applied for additional, over $1 million for sewer upgrades to the Ellswick and Route 6 pump station. Why we didn't get it? Well, they just gave us 2.1 million last year.
Oh, okay. so
And they said, look at all of our other requests.
Okay.
You're, sorry, there's other priorities. But we always are looking at that. And then if it's something we can adjust, we will go at it again the next cycle with that feedback in mind.
So one other question. Do you compare Dartmouth and your activities to peer, P-E-E-R, communities? In other words, I don't know, I know you guys produce a list of peer communities. Like, how many grants, is Attleboro one of them? I'll just say Attleboro is, I don't know if it is.
No, only because the information isn't really available. A lot of communities don't provide that information. They don't
But
track
doesn't the
it.
state have to produce, like, they don't tell who they give grants to?
Only at their state grants.
Well, but that's
But,
the majority.
but they're not
apply for.
centralized. So we would have to reach out to each individual state agency to find that information out. There's no central grants administration agency where we could find out that information
I
from the
guess with
state.
this,
So,
sorry, go ahead.
no, so for instance, we get grants from EEA, Energy, right? That's one agency. We get grants from HLC, Housing and Livable Communities, that's another agency. We get grants from MassWorks, One Stop, that's another agency. We get grants from the Community One Stop for Growth, that's another agency. So there's no centralized database for this.
What I was thinking about was something like liaison with other communities that are peer communities to say, how did you do on grants last year? And compare that with what we do to see if we're missing out on anything.
The problem is.
They won't
it all-
tell you?
No, they will, but it all depends on what we have going on, right?
No, I
If you-
understand.
If I could go out tomorrow, next year, and get us $10 million in grants.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Is it gonna align with what we actually have going on in the community?
No.
No, right? We could apply for resiliency grants to do all these things. I mean, hey, we got a couple $100,000 to look at resiliency along Ponegantsit and Dias Landing, and we were shot down by the Parks and Rec. They don't want any sort of dunes there for resiliency. So if we had moved forward with that, we would have likely got awarded a couple $1 million, right, to actually move forward with the infrastructure aspects of it. It was a policy decision, the town didn't want to move forward with it. So it's hard to compare something like that, right? Sandwich just got a ton of money within the past couple of years for some resiliency along some of their coastline. Something that policy decision they wanted to move forward with. So it's tough to compare because we're in all different points. Because if you look at that, you could say, oh, well, geez, Sandwich got $10 million last year and Dartmouth only got $3 million. We're doing something wrong. Not necessarily, we just don't have the projects lined up. We got a library that the MBLC paid millions and millions of dollars for. So in that year, right, if someone were comparing to us, they'd go, wow, Dartmouth did great that year. Well, we're not doing great. Well, they built a library, we're not building a library, right? Or like MSBA grants, for instance. We just got accepted to the MSBA Accelerated Repair Program. We anticipate they'll fund half of the high school roof. When that happens, right, that's likely $4 or $5 million in grants. But you have to be pursuing a school project. So it's hard to compare. I don't think you'd be comparing apples to apples, and that would be my concern.
I was just thinking along the line, again, if we got, I don't know, I can't read that, but whatever it says, is that dollars?
Yeah, so in fiscal '25, we got around $4 million in grants.
So what I was just thinking is, we got 4 million, at least ask a question, if somebody got 10 million or 15 million, what did you get it for?
I can tell you. I know they did. right? So I could,
No, no, I'm
like,
talking about for the peer communities.
yeah, and then there's several that did, did better than us, but it's based on the projects that
So you-
that they're
all
pursuing.
right, so you're
So
saying
we
that-
don't do a formal, right, polling or this, but we certainly keep an eye on who's getting these large awards. Energy is a good example. We have an energy manager consultant, Kathy Stanley, and she is great. Like Stoughton, I don't know if they were awarded, but they applied for these federal energy grants to the tune of like $15 million, right? And so I know that that's something they're in the process with, because Kathy is out surveying the community. However, they are eligible because they're an environmental justice community, and they meet all this federal criteria that Dartmouth doesn't meet in some cases. So it's a difficult thing to compare, because even our comparable communities, when it comes to grants, can be pursuing and have different criteria for these things.
So what I'm hearing is we really can't do any better than what we're
But we
currently.
can always do better. No, I think we can
think-
always do better.
Well, but how?
Terry?
I believe that you're looking out for grants. I think that it bothers me that a board can say no to state money. And this goes back, for me, to a $1 million grant that we were approved for, which was rejected by the same board. Sending out false information, saying, I won't get into that, but I'm interested in how we could work with that board to persuade them that this is important and that it's not going to hurt the town. I think they think that it's going to hurt the town for some reason, and, a couple $100,000 is one thing, but $1 million, that's,
I just don't get it. I still don't, trying to go back to voting. I wouldn't have,
yeah.
how could you say no to $1 million in resiliency at a board
did.
level on
Well,
behalf of the town?
I think it
On behalf of the
goes to, right or wrong, in the particular one of Aponegantsit and Dias Landing, right, the idea was to create some almost sand dunes, right? And the policy of the Parks and Rec at the time was they didn't want that. They didn't want to potentially block the view. It would have been, 3.5, 4 foot sand dunes. And again, I'm not here to say right or wrong,
No.
but I'm just giving, that would have led, right? So we went through design portion of that with CZM funds, $200,000. If we had fully designed that out and gotten buy-in, right, from the owners, right, of that, I can almost guarantee you we would have gotten funded, because they don't fund one portion and then not fund the rest. They want to see these resiliency.
To the project that we,
Yeah, through a grant, yeah.
through a grant, a couple $100,000 was spent
Around, yeah.
on some design specifications, recommendations for long-term capital planning, resiliency of waterways, and
It's
Park and
really
Rec
outside
said
of our
no.
role, but I think,
Sorry.
I feel like there's a PR department, or there's gotta be some way to, because how many people in Dartmouth know that happened?
Well,
Not
we
many.
had public workshops, we did public meetings with them.
No, on the rejection of the 200,000.
Oh, that we didn't move forward? Well, yeah,
I
we did
guarantee you, no one
public.
understands that happened at the board level. I guarantee you, no
It
one
was a
understands
public
that
board
happened.
meeting where we had them in the engineering
Yeah.
firm to present this option.
Yeah.
But,
We need to
it's.
pay attention, but
That's
that,
just
it is outside
It's
the
one
role.
example, but it really is, it's dependent upon what we're working on and what we're doing. And I think that's the biggest thing, because there are grant funds out there. We have the capacity to apply for them. It's a matter of what's going on, and then do we have the capacity for the project itself,
I
that's
think
really.
ARPA is a good example of what you're talking about, because Gary went back and looked at what was originally committed for ARPA, and then pulled back what wasn't gonna happen,
Mm-hmm.
and reallocated that to other projects that were shovel-ready, and some things got done with that money. Otherwise, it
That
would
is
have
a
been
good
turned
example.
in, and that would not have been good. It was all used up. He was able to use it all up. So and that's what I mean, that I think if you're watching it, you're gonna look for those opportunities. I think as a finance committee, we attended a few meetings with departments that said, we'd like to go for grants, but we don't have anybody who can, so you've answered a lot of those questions.
So I think, what we find with departments is they are looking for someone to oversee the full process. That doesn't exist. You have to take accountability, right? If it's your department, your project, there's some accountability that you have to take on, whether it's managing the project, whether it's, statistics. We have to, some are quarterly reporting, right? We have to give progress updates, where you are, what percentage, provide invoices, things like that.
Yep.
We can centrally administer all of that, put all that together, prepare the reporting, but, our office isn't going to know what the actual status of a sewer upgrade is. That's on the department, right, to do those things. So that's where,
So, but what I'm hearing is that there's really no way to improve this, other than
That's what it sounds
if you happen to, by the luck of the draw, have something going on that the state is funding, or the
Well-
feds are funding at the particular time that it's going on.
Well, I think,
well, and I think as we look for efficiencies within our departmental operations, the idea would be we create capacity to take on some of these projects.
Nate?
the other way you create capacity is by bringing on more staff, which costs money, right? So if,
We talked about that as a finance committee, talking about possibility of a grant person.
I'll be
Not
honest, I don't
necessarily-
No,
think.
but it wouldn't do
I
any
don't
good,
it's
based on what you
personal. I
said.
think we have capacity for the grant administration part of it. The capacity where we have is the departmental project management.
Inability
side.
to implement the
so-
project after you get the funding to
Exactly.
the degree that the project
Needs to be-
requires.
Exactly.
so for example, if DPW, if there's a lot of grants available for DPW could theoretically take on more grant opportunities if there was a new position created, call it a DPW project manager, to go out and execute work, right?
Hypothetically, yes.
Hypothetically. 'Cause
Well, but that's what I'm saying.
that's
So
what we're
how do
saying.
you,
We're saying the pinch point is not necessarily finding and applying and winning the grant, it's executing
right.
the work.
But it's
So-
twofold, and then you have to have the right grant opportunities to align with what
Right,
we're
whatever's
doing.
available at that
So
time.
you see, from the state administration, at least right now, what we see is resiliency, right? Climate resiliency is big, affordable housing is big. So if you have projects that correspond with some of those things, there's certainly more opportunity for that.
But this, well,
One more question, because we have a lot of other things
All
to
right,
cover,
I'll skip it.
and
then.
we need to be out by 7.
Go ahead, skip it then.
all right, so just to sum up on this,
Thank
you can do some more work for us, or not for us, but talk about the success rate.
Yeah, the next update that we do, we'll do a similar presentation, and we can include the success
and
rate
then
in there.
why we didn't get it.
If in
it's available.
cases where it exists, yes.
Great, thank you. Economic
Yeah,
development.
so I'll pass out here, just, this is very high level, some of the things that we'll be working on. I do want to preface by saying, for those, I'm sure most of you know, Chris Vitale, our Assistant Town Administrator, is moving on to another community. He's been appointed Town Administrator in the town of Westport, which, it's a great opportunity for him. However, the Assistant Town Administrator primarily is the primary contact for economic development and grants. So we're quickly going to get this position posted, but keep that in mind as we get into the new year. It's something that will be delayed a bit because that was the primary goal. But I just jotted down a few things, current, and also what we're looking to do in the next, year, few years. So Assistant Town Administrator is the primary economic development coordinator. They dedicate about 20 to 30% of their time, or they should be dedicating about 20 to 30% of their time to economic development. They serve as that single point of contact for business and developers. And we're gonna look to create an economic development task force. We're currently drafting a charge. There'll be a number of members, that's why I have to be determined, 3-year terms. The Assistant Town Administrator will serve on it. We'll look to have one select board member, a planning board member, a finance committee members. And then these are some possibilities of members that would also serve on the committee. And again, they meet monthly, bi-monthly. As we look into the next 5 years, these are some things working with our team that we've identified. And I think, this aligns with what the finance committee is looking for, is really measurable metrics and data. The economic development's tough, because when things are good, things are good. And you could have a goal of X amount of new commercial assessed value, you may go way over. When things are bad, we have no control, right, over the global economy, which has a direct impact of the economic development in Dartmouth. But I think it's important that we assign some sort of value as a goal, right? If that, you strive to get there. So how to bring in some new commercial value, secure a number of tenants over that year. And this is really led in conjunction with the Economic Development Task Force. We really need to look at the Route 6 corridor. And I'll give the example of, if any of you have gone to like the Natick Mall, that area along there. They've done a really nice job of the infrastructure side of it. So the things that the town has control over, which is the infrastructure, they've done a nice job of making it aesthetically pleasing, doing a nice job. It's no secret, Route 6 is not very aesthetically pleasing. It's a mess. It looks like a mess. So that's one of the things that we can do as a municipality that attracts business, right? You need to be geographically in a good spot. We're fortunate, we have that. We're in a good geographic spot. We have a good tax rate. Compare our commercial tax rate to the city of New Bedford. We're like half of what their commercial rate is, right? So that's beneficial as well. But we need to provide quality infrastructure. And beyond the aesthetics, that goes to sewer, right? Water, sewer. If you're a large development looking to come in, I don't want to have to put a sewer treatment plant in. That's expensive. I'm going to look to go to a community where I don't have to do that. So we need to make sure that we're keeping up with our infrastructure, and that's a key part of this.
There was a study done on that a few years ago.
We did. It was the local rapid recovery plan,
Yeah.
which was more, it was COVID-based, how to kind of stimulate the local economy in that area. And in that, there's a lot of this recommended.
Right, because there's two big projects now on Route 6. And when you think about people who live there, crossing the street even, it's not going to be pretty.
No,
That's a very good point about
Which ones are
the
they?
town
Where
doing
are
what
they?
they can do
On Route 6?
on Route 6.
Where
Yeah.
are they?
There's a new housing development going in, well, Lincoln Park was the first one that went in, where Lincoln Park was. And then a little further up the road, there's a new housing development
Thank you.
going in.
the Preserve, it's a
That's all
40B,
still in Dartmouth. Thank you.
288 units.
Thank you.
Rental units. And that's, I think, one of the keys with economic development. That's one of the biggest things that we can do is the infrastructure side of it. And we don't do a good job of it right now. You go up and down Route 6, it's not great. And that goes with, we just finalized our select board goals. We need a marketing strategy for Dartmouth. Again, we have the good geographic location, we have a good tax rate. What have we done to sell ourselves? Nothing. Right? We don't have a marketing strategy. So that's really one of the primary tasks for when we have a new communications person is developing that marketing strategy. You've seen a lot of communities do this, a branding, marketing, like logos, things like that. Those things go a long way. That's, again, kind of goes in line with this here. We also, this is an idea I got from a couple other communities, this Dartmouth Ready to Go sites. These are properties that are ready to go, right? And we want to help market those, work with the Chamber of Commerce, develop that list. We've developed a vacant commercial property list in the past, which has been valuable. It's helped us, it's helped the Chamber of Commerce market, but this goes a step further in ready-to-go properties.
So that would be stuff that already had sewer hooked up to it, that already.
Yeah, or has that ability, right?
Water.
Doesn't need zoning variances, just needs to go through the process. Or maybe already has a spec build approved, right? They've already gone through the process and the owner has approval to build that or is in the process of building that. Those are the things that can help market.
Deirdre?
Can I ask, Gary, what's new growth each year about, on average?
About 800,000,
800,000, thank
600 to
you.
800,000 a year.
Thank you very much. And is it more residential than commercial, or
It's a mix,
60,
more,
40?
it's been more residential in the past.
Thank you.
Cody, the local Rotary, which is very small, has a guy on it who does branding for different companies. And I wonder if they would take that on as a social
Yeah,
project. I don't know. His
That's
name
di-
is Mark Medeiros.
okay.
Oh, right.
Wow.
He does a good job.
Yeah, yeah.
Or even UMass at some point. If they have projects they can
Yep.
work on.
Yeah, I think there's people, there's opportunities out there. You need someone to coordinate it, right? And so I think, in looking at the job description we're recruiting for both these positions, actually, the assistant town administrator and communications, where we've made actually a number of changes in these job descriptions to tailor it to economic development, to marketing, to branding, to more community focused, rather than just internal. Internal is certainly important, and that's a priority, but it goes a step further, and we've made those adjustments in what we're looking for. And then we have priority 2, which is, again, we always want to create new jobs in the economy. That's broad, that's tough, but again, I think it's a good metric to have and try to succeed. The innovation district, again, is something I had found in another community. But it's really a decision, do we want to look at this? Create part of town where we really need to see redevelopment, and you push, we haven't used TIFs, tax incremental financing, much in the past. Do we want to start, using that as a marketing strategy? I think the circumstances need to be right to bring in substantial new growth, substantial new jobs, but we really have never had an official policy on TIFs, so we need to look at it. When do we offer those, and how well we offer those? So that's something I'd like to do. Retention, again, what has saved us essentially is our geographic location, but, working to retain the businesses that we have. And I think a lot of that is getting out there, creating that partnership, that relationship directly with the town. You're having an issue, you know who to contact, and maybe there's a way we can help you, maybe there isn't, but creating that relationship is really important. And then permitting, again, this is one of the other big pieces of economic development that we have direct control over. In addition to infrastructure, are we being business-friendly, I'll call it, in our permitting process? I don't know. I hear mixed things. So we need to do a full review of that, put out material. One of the things we hear is, I don't know where to start. I want to open up this business in town. Where do I go? What process do I follow? Do I go to planning first? Do I go to conservation first? Do I go to the zoning board first? So we're going to look to create basically a permitting guide, right? We're going to do this for residential too, but in commercial as it applies here. And what is the process for doing this? Where do I go
And
first?
Cody, I've heard from a couple of small businesses, like a coffee truck, that the fees were unaffordable. And they wondered if there was some way to deal with that. I don't know if there is.
Yeah, it certainly can be part of the review. I think,
Yeah.
we, as far as timeline, contacts, and the permitting fees, it's certainly something, we'll look at. We need to look at it's a holistic approach of permitting as a whole, and that's something that needs to be looked at. And then we get into, and these are highlighted because these are just numbers that were thrown out and need to be really looked at. So don't consider these as serious figures. But again, I think it's good metrics to have, goals to go after, some dollar amounts here. So we talk about new commercial value, private investment facilitated. Obviously, they invest in the community. That's a significant amount of private investment that stimulates the local economy, right? The healthcare is a good example of this. We have a lot of healthcare with South Coast. They're stimulating our economy, right? They're buying lunch here. They're going out to dinner after work. They're doing their shopping here.
They buy property here.
Right, they buy property here, right? UMass Dartmouth's another great example. I saw a recent statistic. It was, I think, somewhere around 60% of their staff live in Dartmouth. That's huge. That is huge. Those are good-paying jobs that they are then supporting our local economy. So we want to look at, new jobs, commercial permits. Again, that can be challenging, but I think it's good. And then the visits of doing retention. As we get further into it, we look at, does it make sense doing, business highlights, spotlights, video series with DCTV and our communications coordinator. I've seen them be successful in some communities. I've seen them miserably fail, in other communities. So,
Oh, sorry.
no, go ahead.
There were a number of attempts in the past, I think when I gave my report in front of the select board, to do mixed use along Route 6.
Yeah.
Is that in your plan someplace?
Well, we didn't.
Or examine it?
Yeah, it's certainly something that we should look at. Some of that has been identified in the master plan and where, the community would like to see certain zoning. But it's something we can look at again. The planning board is currently undergoing, I can't remember the workshop. They just had a special meeting basically to look at housing opportunities. So that's one of the things that we've asked them to look at. There's been some high-level conversations with the mall. We're very fortunate that our mall performs at the level that it performs at. And we're hearing that they're looking to invest even more in that mall, which is phenomenal. But if we ever came to a point where the mall wasn't succeeding at that level, we would look to, is there a way to make that mixed use?
Well, there, as I mentioned, there were 3 studies that I came across, one back in 2007, and more recently that were done with UMass.
Yeah,
And then there was 2 others that were done, I don't know with, I don't remember.
Cody, to that point on mixed use, I believe, we shouldn't be behind the 8 ball when it comes to something as large as the mall. If something happened to the mall, then we should be talking with the mall now. Would you invest if the zoning was changed to mixed use?
there was.
Because if they're looking for
we've had
investment.
those- No, we've had those discussions.
So that's my point, and if they're interested, why not do that now? Why not change that zoning now to say, hey, invest in housing on your property there to keep you more profitable?
Yeah.
Why wait till after we get the sad news, like what's been going across the country, that
Yeah.
malls are just
I have a
shuttering?
question. As far as empty storefronts, does we have any statistics on that in Dartmouth, how many storefronts we
We do
have
not, no.
unoccupied? I
Do
think it'd be
not have
nice to get a
statistics.
stat like that. Be
Yeah,
helpful.
again, it goes back to human capital, right? The
Chamber
way that
have
we're
it?
going out,
The chamber might have it.
they don't. The chamber has been, I'll say, very useless in Dartmouth. Yeah, we've tried to get more support from them.
Do you have a Rotary?
Yeah, there's a Rotary.
But I don't know if they have that statistic.
Yeah, the rotary.
They don't.
I doubt
So
it.
again, it goes back to, it's great data, right, and keeping up with it, but you physically need someone to go out and
Well,
count
I don't know
those.
if you guys are informed I would think from a tax basis, these storefronts aren't here, and now therefore we're not having the tax brought into them, I would think.
No, it'd only be during, reassessment that, the assessment may go down a bit, due to it being vacant. But, even I think of, okay, can we monitor it through like business certificates, right, through the town? The problem is places will close and they don't come in and say, all right, cancel out my business certificate, we're closed down. So it's a hard, to get somewhat of an accurate, metric, you're going out into the field and actually looking at these things.
Because, if we have this open storefronts, if you will, that only suggest we have spots to get business to come into town, because we have a storefront already that's open to you to some extent. Like, for instance, when a travel agency went out of business on Bliss Corner, they retired. Now there's 2 businesses that I think moved in there.
Yeah.
So it's just this issue, and so this availability or this knowledge that we could convey to other businesses that say, hey, we have a storefront, that's empty.
Yeah.
Would you be considering, something like that?
Yeah, I mean, we do have one, I don't know the last time it's been updated. We do have a vacant, commercial property, report that's available. It's just, I don't think it's been updated in a number of years.
Okay, I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I just like,
Just one more comment from Brian, and I apologize, because this is a conversation we could probably have for 30 more
Oh, yeah.
minutes.
That's
but
right.
We are at 7 o'clock now.
I would just like to say thank you. We've been pushing for this for a long time, and I really appreciate
Oh, no
the
problem.
effort that's gone into it.
Yeah.
And
I-
I would also like to throw my hat into the ring to be a rep on the finance committee. for
Yeah,
the-
once
this
we
community.
establish the charge, we'll bring it back, because there'll be a member on it. And like I said, I think, once we get someone new in the role, one of their primary tasks is really getting our economic development back afloat. But, our office is gonna be down 2 people, and so
Right.
it's not gonna be.
Janine, to that point, I would just say, I think it was Cody's first time at the finance committee, and you had said, give me a little bit of time or something, and and we'll revisit this, so.
And I'm sure he'll get the opportunity to revisit it again.
I hope so.
As you know, we have lots of questions.
Very encouraging.
I hope so.
We have 2 reserve fund transfers
Yeah,
that
so
we have to do.
a few other things that we should do here before we wrap up. Next on the agenda is 2 reserve fund transfers that I spoke about last week, one for the elevator, one for cleanup of the encampment on Route 6 and behind the Moby Dick facility. So before you hear is the first one for $12,000. This is for the elevator. It's in need of repair. It's kind of acting a little crazy once in a while, so we don't want, the only means of access for the 3rd floor for a lot of people that need to use the elevator day in and day out. So the reserve fund balance is $506,175. So there's plenty of capacity to.
Motion to approve the requested amount of $12,000 for
I'll
the
second it.
elevator repair.
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
Could I ask a question?
Yes.
Thank you. Reserve fund balance was 506,175. Is that free cash to you? When you say,
No. So the reserve fund, the finance committee has its own reserve fund set in the budget. And usually it's $510,000 every
Thank you.
year.
oh,
Set
500,
by the budget, right. It's by town meeting,
Okay.
through the budget process.
that's separate from free cash.
Right.
Has that been certified yet? Has free cash been certified yet?
Yes.
And what was it certified as?
8,192,000, I believe, off the top of my head.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I just have a couple questions. On both reserve fund transfers, it says the present balance of the account is 7220. Is that just coincidence, or is that?
That's the account that we'd be putting the money into. So we transfer the money into
I
the
know,
account.
but they're both, so for this
Oh,
one, and then the
okay.
next one we're gonna consider, they're both
Yep,
7,220.
let me quickly look at the, let me see what I can look at to get that
Is Munis still
balance. Yeah, the software system, I don't know if
Is it
it
still
might be
down?
down, yeah.
It's not gonna sway my decision either way.
Yeah, the reason why we do the
No
transfers,
elevator
because
for
there
me.
isn't enough money in those accounts to transfer out, but I'll make the adjustment after the,
We can send it to
Transfers
you.
are-
Our financial system was down today, so I
Okay.
can't pull up and get the balance, but,
And then my only other question is there a maintenance contract under the elevator, or is it,
Associated Elevator, yeah, that's the
Associated
vendor that'd be
Elevator,
doing
is
it.
so they're doing the repairs, but do they do regular
yeah,
annual
that's how
maintenance?
the issue was identified.
Yes.
All right.
Are we ready to vote? All in favor? Any opposed? All in favor.
The second is
Okay, and the
encampment.
second one is for the encampment.
So the town
25,000.
the town owns, it's actually where our Pinelli Wells are. It's behind the Moby Dick Motel there. We had a number of homeless individuals residing on this property for some time. We did, they're no longer residing there, but in the process, they made quite the mess. I have photos I can show you. But it's hazardous, so we can't just send DPW out there to do it, unfortunately. There's a lot of human waste out there, and so we need to get this cleaned up ASAP.
How do you find somebody to do that?
We solicited proposals from a few different firms. There's firms that do this.
Like a Surf Pro and.
Yeah,
places like that.
exactly.
Surf Pro, yeah.
Yep, that was one of them.
Motion to approve the requested amount of
Second.
25,000.
Any questions? Ready to vote?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Good meeting.
One last, a couple other things too before we leave, Madam Chair. So, on the budget calendar, for the members that weren't here last week, I did send out the budget memo, the CIPC memo to department heads. They also have salary scales and the tables, and also the FY '27 budget worksheets for them to work on. So between the now and December 26th, they're instructed to return all that back to my office, so then we can key that into the system. And then, as we mentioned, January 5th to the 26th, the 16th, we'll do the one-on-ones in my office as we did last time, and invite members of the finance committee, as they've done in the past. So,
So when's our next meeting?
That's a good question.
well, we probably wouldn't need a meeting now
Beat me to the question.
until, if there's any other,
Only if somebody has a
something to come up.
incredibly important
you know,
topic
you
that
know,
we need to discuss.
And really, if we had to do an emergency reserve fund transfer or
there's
something
that,
like
but-
that. But I would suggest that we start in January, once all the data's compiled,
Cool.
and we can get everything into the system.
That works for me, because I thought we were already there.
We'll also be putting in some meetings, as I mentioned last week, in the calendar for the Budget Advisory Group, once that data starts coming in, to meet with them. So I'll be sending out an email to those members that are involved in that.
And that's a different group than this group, and that's the new
Correct.
group, that's the voting group. Okay.
When do you
Sorry,
think,
that
when do you
doesn't have
think,
the
have any
asterisks.
idea when the budget advisor, the BAG group?
We're gonna try to get a meeting in the maybe early December, just to start high-level discussions. You know,
Like a
what
chair,
are some
vice
things
chair,
we wanna
yeah.
look at?
Yeah,
you know,
I would
set-
like that, too, because I'm gonna be out of town after the 15th.
Yep, we're gonna send out some dates probably early next week.
Okay.
Some options. So, and then one other quick thing I want to share that's pretty exciting. We are going to be implementing a budget transparency portal on our website. You see a lot of communities doing this, but it's really, really cool. And we also are gonna look to put together a budget book this year, not just, a Schedule A, but a all-encompassing budget. I don't think we're gonna go for a GFOA award this year, but we're gonna certainly shoot for one, in fiscal
that.
'28. But, so if you're interested, we can send out the links to what it would look like. But the idea is, you'll be able to go on our website, you can actually type in what your tax bill is, and it shows you, okay,
Breakdown of,
$3,000 goes towards the schools, $300 go towards administration, $700 goes towards whatever, you name it. So- And then it
Love
shows
that
average,
transparency.
demographics, stuff like that. So we,
That's a change that's gonna make a difference.
Yeah, it
that's-
is.
we're trying to make those
I think
changes.
we'll really
It's-
like that.
Yeah, so, Gary and I met with the vendor earlier this week, actually.
Yeah.
And we're planning to sign and go forward, and we're gonna implement that as part of this year's budget cycle.
And January first, as I
really
mentioned,
important.
there's members that weren't here last week, so we're gonna go to OneDrive
Yeah.
and put everything in there so that there's less paper and we can share documents.
Like that,
Nice,
like that a lot.
Excellent.
Yep.
good idea.
That's all I have.
Yes.
Okay.
One more question. Can you share the budget memo with our group?
Yes, did I send it out to the group?
You guys were in-
you usually do,
You
I
mean the
haven't.
schedule? Oh, I thought you sent it
Memo.
out.
The
The
budget
schedule, I
memo?
might have sent it to Janine, I don't know if I sent it
I'll have
to
to
the
look.
entire.
Yeah,
Yeah, I thought you
absolutely,
said
we'll make sure
everyone.
it's
Yeah, I can
shared
send it to
with.
the
I
group.
haven't seen it.
Yeah,
No,
we'll
it
send
was on
it.
Yep.
Janine.
I can send it.
Sorry, I'll send it out. You send it to me.
We'll send it to the whole group.
To
Thank you.
everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'd like
Want me
to
to
make,
send it to Janine, do you have it?
I'll have to look, I'm sorry.
Okay, I can send it to everybody.
Oh, I'm certain I got it. I didn't realize it didn't go to everyone.
Yeah, I'll send it out to everybody.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Can I mention
make
one more
one
thing?
comment?
Liaison reports.
First of all, do we have any liaison reports?
Oh, darn it.
No.
Since
I'll
last
hold off because of the time. And we don't have any minutes. You didn't send any minutes out.
I wanna go home.
Okay, Carrie.
Oh, can I say one more thing before
Yes,
we
please.
go? So sorry, last week I told you about my travels and finding all sorts of new spots in South Dartmouth. Well, this past Saturday, I found my favorite new spot, Round the Bend Farm.
Yeah. I found
So
it.
Round the Bend Farms picked up my fresh potatoes and picked up my tomatoes, and they said to me, "Would you like a Yawkey bag?" And I said, "A Yawkey Foundation bag? Of course I would like a Yawkey Foundation bag. What's happening at Round the Bend Farm?" And the Yawkey Foundation trustees came in, they sat, and they dropped off $1 million check.
Oh, nice.
This trustee, when he retired, each trustee gets $1 million, and they can divvy it up how they want. This gentleman decided that Round Bend Farm deserved $1 million. So it's quite an extraordinary, as I travel around the community, I'll give you my field trip update.
Beautiful,
That was a cool update.
Carrie.
very
I would
nice.
like to make a motion to adjourn.
I will second
That's a
that
good-
motion.
Seconds it, all in
I
favor?
second that
Aye.
motion.
Any opposed? No, wait a minute.
All right.
I have set up my